Hello, I am the Ronan Pawn, and welcome to twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn livestream on twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn. It's where we are. It's what we're doing. You get all of the information right up front with me. Oh, it's also going to be tedious and boring. There you go. See, everything you need to know. Hello, little magnets. What is the dollar? Why are the Illuminati looking at me between the trucks? They're penned in by the Ronan Pawn boy in chat. Hi. I'd like to share something, but I'd like to share so it'll be a minute. You know, I want some people to show up before I start giving you the good stuff here. So it's like right at the beginning. What do? You could play Kerbal Space Program. Oh right, that's a thing that we do here occasionally, isn't it? We could get into Kerbal a little bit. You know, a certain amount, and then once we're there, I'll, back out of that so that I can give the good stuff. Creative Build Day. It's a Sunday. That means we build creatively. What we've been doing on Sundays for the past 5 Sundays, and I think I might have skipped one, but 5 build days so far has been working on the Mystery Science Theater 3000 Satellite of Love, a ship that we've designed in the style and model and vein of the Mystery Science Theater 3000 Satellite. I wish you would just fucking listen to me when I talk to you. It looks, as of current, like this, and it's only about 1,185 parts to make 4 big old geodesic ball domes, and that's all. And then it looks a little bit of sparse here, but that's because we've been working on this side. We're greebling it. We're moving slowly but surely toward some kind of greebling concept for it. I don't know if it's going to come together visually in a way that's satisfying, but it will be at least, like, you'll be able to look at the reference photos and say, oh, I see why you did that, even if it doesn't actually look like good on its own. So there's that. That's cool, right? Let's actually get some reference photos. Oh, what's this? What's going on here? Michigan's library recovers town's map. What the fuck did you do? That's not at all where I would. Did you just change the page on me? It's this one. Strong winds blow through Michigan, nearly 200,000 without power, and fucking here's a message from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security for when there's a power outage or something. That's not where we are. Yeah, we're not there. What do you need then, Pawn? I need reference photos. So, Satellite of Love, MST3K, images, and then the one that we've been referencing most is this one, because it's nice, it's got some good texture to it. Could you make it, is that the one? I thought it was bigger when we, is it, because, like, what's that button do? Google Lens. I don't know what that is. I don't need that. No, maybe it's just been that I had a little bit of a zoom in going on that previously. There's the satellite of loving. Yeah, right there. And you see there's the big ball, and there's a satellite dish, and there's 3 things, and there's a little tube there, and there's some stats kind of thing, and there's a deal here. And there's like a little circle, and then something comes out of it in that direction, and over here it looks kind of like there's a little ladder that ends in a, and then when you go over here, you see there's kind of a little ladder that ends in a, and there's a big ball here, another little one, there's a satellite dish there, and then there's those 3 things, and then there's a bit, and then there's that thing there, and then there's like a thing that does it. That's what we've been doing. Greebling this 1,100 part count construction. And it's what, apparently, we'll be doing today. Although maybe we could, like, you know what I would like to do just to, like, get some energy up, get going before we, like, dive head first into this, and also before I talk about the fun stuff. Hello, Pika Pup. The fun stuff is that I've been out of power for 24 hours in the middle of winter. But we'll get around to that. You know what I would like to do? What would you like to do? I'd like to maybe just take a minute to our other thing that we've built in creative mode so far, our flying truck. You know, it would be nice if our flying truck were flying tweaked. There's some little things that we could probably do that I didn't do. I think we'd have to put it out on the pad and have a look-see at what our flying truck could be improved with, but I'd like to do that because it's a little bit more fun kind of a thing. Jeb and Bob. Wow, Bill is still very dead, isn't he? Val, you get in there. We don't need 2 people in this craft. Val's our pilot. Let's put this out there and let's fly it around, and you know, maybe we can do something where by default at takeoff it's got good trim, so that we never have to use SAS on it, kind of a thing. And let's also just look at what's the current state of things for this truck. If I hit 1, it doesn't do shit. If I hit it again, it still doesn't do shit. If I hit 2, okay, aha. So 1, right, I'm remembering, 1 actually locks the wings. 2 indicates that it should move them. No, 1 moves them, 2 locks and unlocks them. Okay, so 1 to play the animation, and that's the movement. And then 2, back to cluster truck a little bit. 2 locks them out, so now they're solid and rigidly in place. And we didn't really have or need any additional action groups that I recall. I mean, maybe there's something on here. Do we have... Okay, that's the engine. That's turning the engine on, is what that one... Okay, well, let's just then go, I think. We could do that. We could brakes off and throttle to 2/3. I don't remember what kind of juice we really need to get this thing off of the pad. What do you... You're in dry mode. Okay, good. I'm not... I have no SAS engaged right now. We're going to run down the runway and see at what speed I'm able to take this off when it has no load. Pull up, and we're off the pad. No load, no SAS. We're off the pad, 100 meters per second. And then without SAS, I really need to trim us. As we build a little bit of speed. And now we've actually got too much trim. So that's not bad. And as we gain more speed, we would need less trim. That's pretty good. And then into chase cam. By the way, that's what our flying pickup truck or semi truck looks like. Chase cam, please. Oh, now that's a pretty shot. Yeah. Yeah, we're spinning a little bit. That's fine. We're just taking a wide berth for then turning around and landing again. I'm just curious if there's anything that like could use to be tweaked here. I was thinking about maybe tweaking it so that we didn't need as much trim when we got this whole thing started. Of course, our wings are kind of where they are, and they're going to stay where they are and need to be. But we could do something with that in order to make it so that at 100 and something meters per second we don't need as much trim. Like if I were to grab you and... is there a way for me to... I mean, the trim that you got right now is what we'd be looking for. If I said deploy, and then I... Oh, no. And then I did like that, and then I pulled up so that we don't crash into the ocean there. So if the deploy direction is... Like, let's trim to nothing. Okay, and then pull up so you don't crash into... Okay, which direction am I going? Right, no, you need to roll in a different direction, Paul, that you're having a lot of trouble rolling in right now. Why am I having so much trouble rolling? Are you guys not assigned to roll or something? Why so much with the roll problems? It didn't want to roll for me. So there's definitely some things that could be worked here. What I want to do is, without trim, if I just control the deploy angle of this, and I pull it hard, I mean, at 100 and sea level, but look what's going on when I try and roll it. We're pulling in the wrong direction as I attempt to roll right. Is that because of the deployment? What the hell is going on there? Like, now we're fine. Now she's flying okay. It's so odd. Truck plane. What is this thing? This is Ryan. Oh, hello, Ryan Stone. Welcome back. It's a truck plane that we made previously. before we get into the MST3K build, I kind of just wanted to get this back out and tool around. And where the hell is the KSC? Where did we go? We're north of it. Does that help you, Pawn? Well, I'm flying significantly north. There it is. There's the KSC. All right, back in that direction. We're not rolling for shit. I'm not liking the lack of roll here. Give me you. You are just for yaw, no roll. You are just for yaw? No, yaw is inactive. You are for pitch and roll. And I can see you doing your thing when you try. But damn if you're not doing a bad job at it. Like, what if these didn't roll? So, no roll on any of you guys. You guys are all off for roll? That actually makes it worse. That makes it worse. Oh, wow. We can roll hard like that. And this isn't like a direction of control thing, is it? Control point forward. Control from here. Yeah, no. When I roll one direction, we go in the opposite direction now. That's... What is the problem with that? Is a question I'd like to answer. We're passing the KSC. Yeah, well, I can't really turn to it. Wow. But if I do a little bit of yaw, we roll hard. Like, yawing actually does the rolling for us. Can we just switch those controls? Let's look at that. Wow. You are limited to just yaw. You're doing both. Like, what if I told you not to roll and you were just for pitch? Uh-oh. No, undeploy. So yeah, you're just for pitch, and then when I try and roll, I get, like, no response. Well, because you've got nothing. You needed to then make these things respond to roll, which is weird for them to be in this inclination, you know, in this, the way that they are, and then try and do some kind of roll help. And no, they're not helping. Well, they're inactive. Roll on. Roll on. And that actually ends up, you know, acting more as a yaw, which makes sense, but the ones in the rear that are doing all of this for me when I go back and forth, right and left, holy. I mean, I could figure out how to fly it, sure, but is it flying the way we'd want it to? Yeah. If I undeploy you, and then set you back to roll active for those. Roll is active for everything, and then when I try and roll, okay, you're not rolling. Roll active. We do get roll. It's just not much. And if I really want to roll, then I pull a yaw. That's odd. What are we working on today, says Oregon? Greebling, the Satellite of Love. Sure. Yes, definitely. But first, I just wanted to take this out and see if there wasn't some tweaking we could do to this, because it's a really beautiful build that I'm really satisfied with. It's so small, it's so tight, it's so just doing what it does and doing it well and looking good while it does it. But there are, for example, issues like this, where if I want to roll, I'm better off yawing, and that's what happens when I roll, which is technically getting me some roll, but not like we want it to. I'm gonna slow down a little bit, and I'm gonna try and turn in for a landing here. See if there's any landing kind of issues. Do you have independent control surfaces for pitch, roll, and yaw? This is the only one. Let's see, what are you doing? This is pitch and roll, are these. Pitch and roll. And then these guys I actually allowed to interact and do some yawing and some rolling with us, which I wouldn't have done. I didn't do originally, except for it actually helps to control it a little bit better when we first built it, I'm remembering now. So, yeah. These are straight up yaw. Oh, well, they were supposed to be. Were you yawing and rolling, and that's the main I mean, they're still, like, yeah, they're still, wow, look at that. Just look at how much pull you get off of that. That ain't right. That ain't right. Kill the engines. This is going to be a tough one, because we're coming in pretty hard and fast here. Whoa! And we're fine. Wow. She lands like a rock. The uprights won't do much as there's no airflow over them. These guys? Oh, these guys. Yeah, but they were, that's why I turned them on, is because they weren't making, they shouldn't make much of an effect, but they were actually helping with it. Otherwise, they were always intended to just be off constantly, but it actually flew better with them on for some reason. Just slow her down, bring her in, and then I need to unlock you. We got electricity? We're out of electric charge. That's cool. Well, run some throttle so we can get some electric charge. Yeah, that's not going to be enough, Paul. Okay. See, there's another little thing that could be used, is maybe we need some kind of electricity on here, would be the thought. If I run the throttle with the brakes on full, it'll generate us some electricity. Not enough to really do anything. And then we'll just slam into the building that we're going towards. So, yeah, okay. Never mind. Kill the engine. Brakes on. Lights off. I can't actually fold the truck back up into truck form. You got some good news on Friday? What was your good news on Friday? I got some bad news on Saturday, which was that you're not going to have electricity for 24 hours because of a windstorm. Did anybody hear about that? Here in Michigan, 200,000 people, just about, a little bit short of 200,000 people out of power. Were you in a warp state for some reason? Revert the flight back to the space plane. Hang on, let's see what we can do about this. How did your DIY backup power handle itself during the power outages? Asked Little Magnus. How did it? It didn't quite fulfill all needs, but it did some of the needs. I want to talk about it. I caught COVID. When I said good, it was to lessen the blow of the bad. Oh, good. Good. Following the standards you've set down. That's great. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Well, that's a shame. Were you already with the vaccinated? Did it expire? Did it just not work for you? Did you something else, the other thing, or what was going on, huh? Why did you not have access to the needle? Get the needle in there. What's happening? Tell me your life story. And when you tell me your life story, I'm gonna tell you mine. So here's my life story. Strong winds blow through Michigan. 200,000 without power Saturday. So it's been like today. I looked at the temperature, and it was, once the sun came up, 39 degrees. Was what? I think it was 39 after the sun came. It was 39 degrees at some point outside. At 11 a.m. yesterday, the power went out. My power went out here, along with about 200,000 people across the state of Michigan, due to some high wind storms. Remember a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I was talking about that whole global warming issue and the way that weather is going to get more severe at the same time as our critical infrastructure has been horribly not funded and not taken care of for a long time, and even before the harsher weather patterns, without that we already had some bridges collapse pretty much for just no reason other than nobody looked at them. No engineers went out and said, hey, is this bridge still going to stay up? And then there were some bridges, you remember, about 2015 or something like that. Our infrastructure failing because nobody has the money governmentally to fund properly what needs to happen to maintain infrastructure and to look and see. And then at the same time, global warming means that every year it's going to get worse and worse in terms of the severity of weather patterns that are going to put those systems under. You remember me chatting about that? So yesterday, windstorm, apparently from West Coast. You can look at the news stories about this and see the hours as they're passing, and see the the story be West Coast Michigan is out of power due to, and then 45 minutes later, Central Michigan loses power due to, and then another 45 minutes later, Eastern Michigan out of power. You can see it just growing. Had 2 vaccines, was due my booster today. I think I caught it in a shopping mall where no one was wearing masks, even though it was mandatory. People can be selfish. I have heard the weather's been awful in America. Are things bad in your state? Well, knocked out 200,000 people across 2 different power companies that serve in Michigan. We've got Consumers Energy and we've got DTE. I'm DTE because I'm in Detroit, and DTE stands for Detroit. So yeah, we were out of power since 11 a.m. yesterday, which means I built my own little power wall, cheap man's power wall, that we actually did here on a stream. I had the camera over my workbench, and what it is a 100 amp hour, I keep calling it like a deep cell marine lead acid battery, because that's usually where you'd see these things, you know, or at least they see heavy use in marine and in boats and things like that, but also in campers and stuff. But it's a lead acid battery, 100 amp hour, 12 volt, probably. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And so I just got one of those, 100 amp hour, 12 volt battery. I got a car charger that is like a trickle charger kind of system to juice it up. And then I got myself a 700 watt inverter. And I didn't want more than a 700 watt inverter because this thing was it's not meant to power my whole damn house. It's meant to keep a couple of things on and to be able to do some important things that don't always get done. You know, when the power goes out, there were 2 main concerns. Number 1, can we run the fridge? Can we keep the food cold so that if the power goes down for 12 hours or something like that, we don't end up with, you know, $100, $200 worth of food in the fridge, you know, however much money goes into the fridge. But with all of that spoiling. So can we run the fridge a little bit? Can we give it a boost once every 3 or 4 hours or something like that the power's out? Another interest of mine was, can I run the furnace? Because my furnace is gas. But of course, a great big whole house furnace, and it's a like 90-some% efficiency California rated furnace that I got on the cheap for like $500, $600. It's probably like a $1,400 furnace because it was dented and shipping, like it was ding special, and it was really, it's not just dented, it was like, you know, the box around it was but I feel even more confident in its operation because if that happened to it in shipping, then you know that the company had to take it back and inspect it and make sure that everything was still working and everything was up to spec, and that it was just that the box was crushed. So dent and ding special, $500, $600 I paid for that furnace, and it's gas. The problem is, you know, any furnace that's a forced air blower, you know, style furnace, well, it's got a great big fan attached to it, a great big scoop, you know, impeller kind of a fan, and that draws, when it's running, like 450 watts is about what I see on my, I've got a system where I can meter the entire house and see what's flowing through it. So when it kicks on, I've been able to see it runs at 450. It looks like it spikes when it's first kicking on and giving the torque to get everything going to about 600 watts. So I got a 700 watt inverter. And my goal was, I've had this thing sitting right under my computer, like right over here, for ever since we made it. We have not had a power outage. We don't have many power outages. You know, in the course of a year, I would say if I see 3, I'm like, wow, 3 power outages. But we do have, I have had like little brownout issues, or half of the power gets cut, because in America it's a 220 system, but it's split into 2 110 lines. So the power in your house and coming from the outlet is 110, but you've got 2 of them to access. And if you need a 220 source to power something big in your basement, or, you know, something big that takes 220, then you tie those lines together in big quotes. You know, you use both. Let's see, above ground power lines are so 1975. The one, hello baller man, by the way, the one out back my house, the above ground power line, like, I was looking at it almost prophetically, like an hour before. Well, I mean, it was blowing really hard, the wind, so it was like power's probably going to go out. But I was also just looking out the window back of the house, and the one behind my house looks like it was erected from the old timbers of a ship that'd been at sea for 200 years. I mean, the mast of the ship had been recovered, but it's brined and it's salted and it's just like shredded at both ends, kind of a thing. And then at the top, the two that actually have there's two cross beams on this one. Some of them only have one, but there's two cross beams that are each supported by angle brackets. Additionally, and then connected to one another, and then they've got the wire harnesses on one side or both sides. I didn't look that close at it. I didn't notice that because what I did notice was in the wind that like one side of it in particular is like, oh my god, it's not even there's nothing that could be considered square or to the earth at all about it. It's like that, and then the other one's like that. Like, this thing is being held together by the fact that it has those bracer angles and it's got a gapper between the one that's still upright, but that's already leaning like that. It looks like, yeah, it looks like the mast of an old ship. And I cannot believe that anyone ever used the wood. Or it's just been there so long. This house is built in 1929 or something, if I'm to believe my deed. So it's been almost 100 years since this house. Who knows when those power lines went up? Let's see, I think about $1 million in bills will fit in the fridge. $1 million in... That is a lot of money to keep in your fridge. You don't want that to spoil when the power goes out. Oregon, CRX, I used to live in Illinois and I do not miss Midwest weather at all. I say every winter I'm not going to be here the next one. But it's not because of this. It's because of my chronic fatigue, myalgic encephalomyeliticness. Did you go to Michigan? Ryan, no, absolutely not. I didn't. No, I went to Central Michigan University for a year and a half, and then that was enough. So I just have this shirt because somebody gave it to me, and it's a nice sweatshirt, and it keeps me warm. Gas, that's pretty expensive right now. Gas is always cheaper than electricity here, for whatever reason. Gas is way, and it's a problem with the idea that everybody wants everybody to get on electricity because it's a renewable resource, so we can get it from the wind and we can get it from the sun and blah 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 blah. That's neat and all. On my bill, it would cost me about double if my heating was electric, if my water heating was electric, if my cooking was electric. Gas is far more efficient in terms of my cost of energy, and in terms of like how quickly you get the energy that you need in full. We bought for last Christmas, I think it was, I bought Lady Pawn a countertop oven. It's supposed to be like a convection oven and air fryer and all of these other things, but it's, she had experience with this brand before and she had just talked about, I wish I still had my old thing. And then I went and bought her like the upgraded version of it, and it's a monster, but it's not quite what she wanted. Anyway, we got this thing, and because it's a electric heating element in the US, every electric heating element basically, it draws what it's allowed to draw, which I believe is maxed out at like, it's got to be a little bit under the maximum current draw of 15 amp 14 gauge wire would be my guess, because that's the minimum for an outlet around here, and I would guess that they would set the standard for it, that it has to be a little bit less if you're going to run a heating element electrically. In any case, I'm pretty sure it's like 1100 watts, 1150 watts. Maybe it's 1600? Anyway, whatever it is, everything that has an electric heating element basically runs to that. You can get one of those tiny little like room heaters. It's like that small. 1100 watts of heat energy is what you're going to get out of it. Mosaic says it's 1200. Okay, 1200 watts out of like one of those little space heaters, what you're going to get out of that one. If you buy the really big one, it will be 1200 watts of heating power. If you buy a massive, it will be 1200 watts, because that's all they're allowed to do, because the wiring in your house can only sustain that safely. Anything higher, and we got a problem, potentially. So they sell you the little one, and they sell you the big one. Big one's just got a bigger fan in it. It can't And actually, because it's going to have to run a bigger fan, which is going to consume more of its wattage, it means that it can't draw as much of the wattage and put it into heat as the small one. No matter what your electric system, heating premise is, in America, there is a cap, a hard cap. And the watts that you're drawing are direct heat. It is a 100% efficient concept of the electricity becomes heat. There is no loss, because the heat is generated as the loss. So there's no loss. 1100 watts of heat energy. You can express it as joules of heat energy, but you're just doing a one-to-one conversion. Whatever 1 watt is equal to 1 joule, well then it's 1100 watts, it's 1100 joules. That's all you get, and that's all you'll ever get, regardless of the size of it. So we got that little oven, and my electric bill, cooking with gas is so much more efficient in terms of how much money I spend. Now, I don't know if that's artificial because lobbies and because the people are pulling out of the ground the shit and not caring that it's not renewable, and so the pricing is under what it should be because it's non-renewable and there's a limit on that. I don't know what the situation is, except that on my bill, everything that I can run on gas is going to cost less than what I could do electrically. It costs far more. Fracking cheap gas, probably because of that, yes. Where else can you find houses for $2,500? That's how much I bought this place. Was it $2,501? It was $2,000 and something and $1, because I prices righted the other bid. I said, and $1, because they're not allowed to, the real estate agents aren't allowed to tell you what the other person bid, just that you've been outbid. So in case that guy, presuming whoever it was that bought it, just said 2,500, I said 2,501, and then I got the house. You will love the YouTube channel Technology Connections. I watch it. And Vantatsu says, I second this. Yes, I watch it. I do love it. I do love it. But yeah, so you got the heaters, and it's always 1100 watts, so it's almost kind of a scam that they've got all these different models. Pay us $50 more for the same amount of heating that you could possibly get from an element that you could have made out of fucking wire. And if you understand the science between wire resistivity and you could buy some 12 gauge Canthol wire or something like that, figure out exactly the length that you're allowed to have that would give you the wattage that you need for that, and then apply 120 volts across it. And anyway, so gas is definitely cheaper around here, and that's why everything that I've got is gas. But the electricity went out, as this story behind tells us, at 11 a.m. yesterday, and it did not come back on until about 4.5 hours before this. It came back on at like noon, maybe 11:30, somewhere between 11:30 a.m. and noon today. So 24 hours without electricity, which means I can't run the furnace, even though the furnace is gas, because the furnace has an electric, fan in it, giant electric fan that takes 450 to 600 watts to power. So, I can't actually run my oven. I can run the burners because they're gas, so you can just open the burner and then light it with a, lighter, because you don't have the electricity to do the tick, 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 tick kind of thing, but you can light it. But I can't run my oven interior as a source of heat because that uses a combustion and ignition that I believe is a like a truck warming plug, where it's just an element that you electrically get hot, and it slowly comes up to the temperature where it's hot enough, and then when it detects the right amount of resistance that tells it that must be hot, then it will fire the gas, and then it will. So that's an electric system to get that started, even though it's gas once it's going as well. So there's a lot of limitations there. So what we did was, on Livestream together, we built a system where I've got a 100 amp hour deep cell lead acid marine battery, which was like $100, $110 for a 100 amp hour battery. And I bought myself a 700 watt inverter. And what we did yesterday was, when the power went out, I went to the battery. I've got a little meter just strung across the post, a little cheap piece of crap, probably inaccurate in a million different ways. But I hit the button and see what it's at. And it was at, I want to say like 75% is what this thing was reading. It's been sitting there, and maybe it was at 80, and I put it under load, but it's been sitting there, and it just loses its charge over time. it's not a lossy battery. It's just if you leave a battery sitting there for a while and you don't use it, you don't charge it, then it's whatever you put it at, it's going to find its floating balance, and then it's going to discharge slowly over time from, I don't know, just losses, just reality. Trying to think, what's the term? Entropy. Entropy. It will lose some of its charge. So here's what we ended up doing. First thing, I was able to run my fridge. I get the inverter. The inverter's already connected to the battery. I run a extension cord from the fridge around the corner into the office, plug it into the inverter, switch it on, boom. Maybe after like six hours of not having electricity, I ran my fridge. It did a cycle. It got itself back down to the temperature it want. I killed it. So, boom, we kept the food cold. The next thing that we tried to do is, and in order to do this, I had to work all day yesterday. At 11 a.m. when the power went out, I went, okay, well, the power's out, and one of the things that we'd need to do if the power stays out is I needed to rewire the furnace so that it can be plugged into something. Because the furnace was hardwired via strand cable all the way back to the board is the way that I put it in the first place. So it needs to be wired in a way that it terminates in a plug, and that plug plugs into an outlet, and then that means I can unplug the furnace and plug it into the inverter that's connected to the 100 amp hour. So I did that all yesterday. Rewired the furnace, cut a piece of pipe that was like metal pipe for the wire to travel through, and I don't have power, so how am I going to do that? Well, I got a little pipe cutter, like a little. It's supposed to be like for like brake line, like thin, soft, tiny things. I got it open to the widest that it could go and put it on this maybe 3/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch, but I think 3/4 inch pipe, and then just, you know, you put it on there, you screw it down tight, and then you just rotate it, and it starts to take a little cutout, and then you screw it down tighter, and you rotate it, and so, you know, and then like 15 minutes of doing that later, you get a single clean cut. So I cut the pipe so that I could mount an outlet and wire that up, and then I cut actually, it looked like a computer cable that was about 6 feet long, like a computer power supply cable. The cable was rated as 18 gauge wire inside, and the furnace is actually running on 18 gauge wire as well. So, which was surprising to me, that the furnace's like main power intake, when I first set this up, I'm like, are you kidding me? 18 gauges on or 18 gauge wire, thin wire on a furnace? So yeah, that's all it needs. It's efficient. It's only ever going to draw 650 watts at its peak, kind of a thing. 18 gauge wire. Okay. So I did all of that, and so then was the big test, was with this battery, can I power the furnace? Can I power the furnace's blower? So we ran another extension cable down out to the bathroom, actually, where there's like a cut for the plumbing to go down, that I was able to wriggle the extension cable down and send it into the basement, and then I ran that over to where I'd put in this this outlet and unplugged the furnace from the outlet and plugged it in there, and Lady Pawn up here flips it on, and the furnace starts to come to life, and then it goes through its whole cycle, you know, you hear the click, and then you hear the and then you hear the and then you look inside and you see the flame going from orange to blue. And then the big fan spins up, and then you hear the inverter beep, and cut the power, because I did not have enough juice left in the battery to get the. I think there's two possibilities for why the inverter, you know, gave up there, and it's one, and I think this is the one. I think I just didn't have the voltage left in the battery after. It having sat and drained 100 amp hour to be turned into a 600, a 12 volt 100 amp hour to then go through an inverter, and they've got to take 12 volts and ramp that up to provide what ends up being 650 watts in that moment that it torques the fan up. That's, you know, 650 divided by 12. Because that's how many amps are being drawn off of the battery in the moment that the inverter has to try and, you know, crank that thing up. So yeah, it couldn't spin the fan up. We let it go twice. The second time I was up here and I had the meter on so that I could see what it was saying that the battery's charge was under draw. When it was under load, when it was under draw, it told me like it dipped down to, I want to say 10.8 or lower. And so I think the inverter just said 10.8 volts. No. This is supposed to be a 12 volt battery, and you know, a 12 volt battery of this kind and an inverter that's used for this thing regularly expects to see voltages from, you know, 13.4 down to probably 10.9 or something like that. But there is a point at which it says I can't do the makeup work to create the wattage that you need to give the amperage off of the voltage that I've got right. I can't do it safely, so I'm out, and we hit that mark. So I wasn't able to run the furnace. What I was able to run was the oven and a house fan. So for several hours, I don't think the oven was on for several hours. Maybe like 20 minutes, half hour at a kick. But we had the extension cable running from my inverter around the corner into the kitchen, and it was powering the oven, the electrical side of the oven, so that the gas oven could then make heat. And then on top of that, I had a house fan on low blowing the air toward the center of the house. I would say that the system performed admirably. We were able to cook dinner on the top of the oven, make some ramen noodles and some tuna, and I spiced it up and kind of thing. But we did not have the kind of juice that I needed to run the furnace, which was part of the plan here, which to me, I would think if I had another 100 amp hour 12 volt battery in line with it, whether I can never, I get them flipped in my head, whether it's in series or in parallel, whichever mode where I'd still have 12 volts, you know, but I'd have more of it. There'd be more depth because it's a 12 volt inverter, so it's still got to be 12 volts. I think if I had more depth for it to not have the voltage drawn down below 11 volts when that thing kicks on, I think we could have done it. But yeah, it certainly did get me through some of the night, and then, you know, we got to that point in the night where power's out of the battery's dead. We got one more charge out of the refrigerator, and then nearing the end of the refrigerator's cycle, but before it completed, the inverter again went, hey, you're out of power, more or less, and it started beeping regularly. Like, it left it to me to turn it off, but it was like, this is getting low, so we turned it off. Good to hear that you are safe. Yeah, well, 24 hours, so after that, overnight, we woke up this morning. It was a long, hard night, let me tell you, for semi-related reasons. But we woke up this morning, and I think the temperature in the house, I saw on the thermostat, it got down to 54, maybe 51. But I'm pretty sure the lowest I saw was 54 degrees in here. It was not comfortable. And we've got 5 cats running around, which meant that 2 of them slept on me. But it worked well enough, and perhaps the most interesting part of my long story here that is just, hey, I was out of power, is this. Strong winds blow through Michigan, nearly 200,000 without power Saturday, by Emma Stein of the Detroit Free Press. This is the worst article that I have ever read in a newspaper. Like, the Detroit Free Press, it's not nothing. It's a big paper. It's a big deal. It's been around for a while. I know everybody's strained and everything, but I just want to like read some of this to you, and you tell me if this is like the worst writing you've ever, from someone who gets paid to write. Metro Detroiters dealt with whipping winds Saturday, and the heavy gusts were followed by the inevitable power outages. It's a little bit, so I'm being dramatic there, but it's already like, what? How do you, that's not how sentences do. And I just did one in a way that it doesn't. And another. Metro Detroiters dealt with whipping winds Saturday, and the heavy gusts were followed by the inevitable power outages. This is a lot of articles that are declaring the heavy gusts were followed by the inevitable power outages. Because of the winds, like, power outages aren't inevitable. But okay, if you're making a political, but they're not. They're just, and then they're churching it up, and then it's not just that inevitable power, like followed by inevitable power outages. No. The heavy gusts were followed by the inevitable power outages. The. It's missing a comma. Oh, don't worry, she'll make up for that in the commas that she uses massively everywhere else. But the double V's are already show like this. That first line reads like it's one of those Chinese bot mill news things that just like grab articles from everywhere else and then AI try and write an article without anybody ever touching it. That first sentence is already like, ouch. Those in the southeast side of the state experienced wind with gusts up to 60 miles per hour, according to Megan Varsi, a meteorologist at the National Weather Service in White Lake. A high wind warning is in effect until 8 p.m. I don't have too much grammatical problem with that, but I feel like you're putting, like, if it bleeds, it leads. This is a news, like, 200,000 without power, and what we're going to do immediately is talk to Megan Varsi, a meteorologist, who's going to say, so we have a strong low pressure system tracking across our area today, which is causing some strong winds, Varsi said of the Saturday gusts. The winds were expected to begin to subside after sunset Saturday, Varsi said, and continue to decrease in strength throughout Sunday. I have so much trouble reading this author. These, you know what, this is my supposition. Let me try this again. The winds were expected to begin to subside after Sunday, Saturday, Varsi said, and continue to decrease in strength throughout Sunday. I think this person writes as though they're hearing someone say it, and that's not how the written word works. That's not what writing is. You don't write as though it's going to be that's a different art. But the winds were expected to begin to subside after sunset Saturday. Do these words in this form hurt anyone else's brain? Yeah, Mosaic Task Force. I would focus on people not having power. We're 4 paragraphs in, nobody's mentioned it. We're just talking about there were some winds out, and a meteorologist says that wind is caused by wind. Awesome. She's going to say more on that later. The strong winds knocked down trees, limbs, and over 1,800 power lines, according to a Consumers Energy news release. As of about 10 p.m., Consumers Energy reported 95,000 customers without power, and as of 8 p.m., DTE reported 100,000. This is just bad writing. This is just bad writing, and statements of things that don't need to be heard, that don't need to be said. I don't need the exact time at which these reports were collected. Like, you can reword this sentence so that it sounds so much better. You've done the most annoying version of it. As of about 10 p.m., comma, Consumers Energy reported 95,000 customers without power, comma, and as of 8 p.m., comma, DTE reported 100,000. That comma is not supposed to be there, and I question whether or not this has become a run-on sentence, even though it's like 18 words long. You've managed to do it because that "and" just feels unnatural. Like, this is an end of a thought. As of about 10 p.m., Consumers Energy reported 95,000 customers without power, period. And as of 8 p.m., DTE reported 100,000. Like, they're two, and you can join them together, but when you do, it doesn't sound good, doesn't work right in my brain, it doesn't decode the way that language is supposed to from the page to my brain. What is Sunset Saturday? Is that like Black Friday or Super Tuesday? That's also like a stumbling point for the Sunset Saturday. It's not a poem. Consumers Energy spokesperson Katie Carey said their teams work around the clock to ensure power is restored as quickly as possible. However, she noted that the safety of their crews always comes first. There's 200,000 people out of power. We've talked to a meteorologist who says wind is windy, and now we're going to talk to somebody else who's like the primary comment that you're going to lead with is that they said, you know, we can't have our workers out in unsafe. 200,000 people without power. Mention a little bit more. The winds that swept through the state started on the lakeshore and moved really quickly all the way across the state, Carey said. And when the winds are high and sustained like that, and they're over 35 miles an hour, it's not safe for our crews to go up in a bucket. But the winds have died down for now, so they're beginning the restoration process. Okay, So you started writing what somebody wrote, and it sounded conversational, right? Because that's how people speak. So they spoke it, and then you wrote it down, and then you wrote that. And then you decided to keep on with the conversationalness without becoming a journalist again. You just, like, you finished her thought by leading with but, comma, the winds have died down for now, so they're beginning the restoration process. It's mechanically unsound. I guarantee this journalist was out of power and was written on an iPhone. Maybe that's it. Maybe that would explain it. This is just so bad. But the wind... She guessed that some customers won't get their power back until the end of the day on Monday, but said they'll have a more accurate estimate Sunday. Clunky. Although there may be scattered thunderstorms, they'll likely only last about 30 minutes, according to Varsi, and the main event of concern is the wind. Ah! This person is employed to write words. Although there may be scattered thunderstorms, comma, they'll likely only last about 30 minutes, comma, according to Varsi, comma, and the main event of concern is the wind, period. Whoo! Ouch! I mean, am I being hypercritical for someone who gets paid to write things, and then it's the free press, but it's not free. You got to pay for it. I mean, on the website, this is a free article. I'm reading it for free, but I mean, they're selling this new, and this is what they give you. It is Detroit Free Press. Hopefully, they are not paid. That's probably the best example of that. Although there may be scattered thunderstorms, they'll likely only last about 30 minutes, according to Varsi, and the main event of concern is the wind. This sentence needs to be reversed, flipped upside down, pulled inside out, and put back the way that any other human mind would have put it together. And also, again, comma, this, comma, that, comma, that. You can end a thought and carry on the next. We won't be confused. You won't lose us. We'll likely see scattered to numerous power outages, tree damage, any loose objects that are... Well, this is just a quote, so I won't even... A very large tree... I love this part. A very large tree was completely uprooted in Dearborn, taking up parts of the pavement as it toppled. It's just you might have just wrote there, and here's some shit I saw on Twitter, or on Facebook, rather. Here's a link to the thing on Facebook. The kids are into that, right? Here's a picture of a tree that fell over in the wind. A very large... 200,000 people are out of... There's one tree went down, though, that we found, and people put it on Facebook. The news. Temperatures were in the mid-upper 50s Saturday morning, but expected to drop rapidly as the cold front pushes through. And then a tweet. Varsi said it's important to move any items inside and to drive with caution if you have to drive. If you have to... So that's I stopped reading there because I didn't want my brain to get infected, and I feel like it has a little bit even now, even where we just like an excited small child explaining something, and then and he went to and a big tree fell in Furdale. I saw it on the Facebook, and then this guy tweeted this thing. Oh my God! And then 200,000 people are out of power or something like that. And then, but it happened at 10 p.m. and then the other one came out at 8 p.m. From the two different. And then there was a dragon, and it ate the thing, but the captain of the forces came out, and he was like, and then and they fought. This person makes a living writing for... Did Donald Trump write that? No. That's too far. Don't insult this person. They at least, got all of the words, they were all in there. No one had to say, you wonder what he means when he says words. It's not an amazing and huge, so probably not. Yeah, you would need the words amazing and huge a lot more often. The winds were so great, they were the greatest winds. So powerful, absolutely huge winds. Never seen winds like this before. No one before me as a president has ever had winds like this. Amazing wins, just great wins, huge wins. Thank you, Kanye. That's it wasn't that bad. Yeah, so there's the truck Mark III that we're supposed to work out, but I don't know. I've lost my steam. I shouldn't have wasted so much time. Well, you just with that news article was where I wanted to go, and I had to tell the story of my life in order to get there, and then that was fun. But now we need to get back to the slow and tedious and arduous task of greebling up the Mystery Science Theater 3000 Satellite of Love. I'm supposed to be selling this live stream to you. You're supposed to be enjoying it. I'm like, and here we go. All right, fucking goddamn it. All right, here we go. What do I need? I need the goddamn reference photos. I gotta look at the fucking thing. All right, it's three blocks there. What am I gonna find? It looks like I already did that one with the better. You know, I should probably be making it more. It's a great ship. It's the best ship that anybody's ever seen. Never before have you seen the greebling like you're gonna see here today. If you just stay tuned. Also, you know, maybe riot and destroy the Capitol. But I'm not saying that. It's not me. I'm just sort of like implying it. And thank you so much. You're good people. There's good people on both sides of this Nazi rally. You know. So and have a lovely day. And also, hey, I destroyed the world. I took us out all those those New Deal agreements that would have, you know, with the environment. But you know, just with huge. Thank you, Kage. Last week we ended up talking about Christianity. You never know what's going to happen. So, all right, let's get into it. Let's start greebling this thing up. After a live stream break, I don't want to rush into anything too quickly. We've been here for an hour. I've done nothing. But I had a big story to tell about being out of power, and the cats were there, and Lady Pawn and I, and then we were out of power. And I did all that work in the electrical work in the basement and in the furnace, and I tried to run it and it didn't work. It sounds like her writing again, doesn't it, from the Free Press? And then he tried to get the furnace to work, but it didn't. So he did something else. Okay, just a quick live stream break for me to pee and get my wits back about me, and then we'll come in and we'll actually start greebling this thing up. Stick with me, don't go anywhere, Pawn not out.
Noise you couldn't quite locate or explain. Noise you couldn't quite locate or explain. Noise you couldn't quite locate or explain. Couldn't quite locate or explain. Noise you couldn't quite locate. Noise you couldn't quite locate.
Hello, I am the Ronan Paul. Welcome back to twitch.tv/Ronan Paul livestream on twitch.tv/Ronan Paul. Sorry, I was late. Had to plant a wet one. I had to kiss my girl, kiss Lady Paul on the cheek. You know, don't want to get too randy. Welcome back. Welcome back to the live stream. Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. We're supposed to be greebling up the MST3K Satellite of Love, and I want you to know that not a lot of that might happen today. It's going to be a weird stream. We'll see. But damn it, I started talking, and I want to just talk. I had a weird day with the power being out, and it was a weird night. I felt comfortable. I felt like I was warm enough. You know, my nose was damn cold in the 50-something degree we had in the house without the furnace being able to run because I was out of power for 24 hours. But felt comfortable enough. But man, the mind. I want to talk about it. Last week we ended up talking about Christianity. That's right. And today we're going to talk about some Zen, I think. We were talking about reason, you know, the next best thing than 42. Is that the solution to life, the meaning in everything, or whatever? Why is it a bone? You'd have to ask the people who made the show. But I think there's so much hexagonal, pentagonalness to the design of the miniatures for MST3K. I think it was mainly around that whoever was doing the miniatures really wanted to build in this theme, and they just did. And it's what they wanted, so it's what they got, you know. And I love that about the show, about that it had that people caring MST3K. You know, it was people who had passions for the things that they were interested in, and then went after them and made something. And whether it was going to be profitable was, you know, it was important whether or not it was going to be something that people would buy and then people would watch and everything like that, but it was secondary to, are we doing something that we want to do? You could smell it on them, smell it on everybody, that they were enjoying themselves doing what they were doing. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing but it's profitable, then you're probably wasting your time, in this life. There's so many things that you can do that you enjoy that people have a need of or a want of, and that, if you got to do something that you want to do. And if you can't right now, then, put that energy around, wrap yourself in that energy of what you want to do and try and get there. Because this is your life. It's either 42 or Ethereum, Earth, but the computer shows 42 first, so yeah, okay. But hard night last night. There's two different things in my mind that I want to talk about, and I think it's the easier one that I want to talk about, which is the power outage itself. When you see these power outages, the power company, DTE, for me, and Consumers Energy for other people who live in Michigan, two different companies that provide the power. People really immediately, or I saw, after being out of power myself for 24 hours and, sleeping overnight with two kittens curled, one on my chest and one laying between my shins for their warmth, and doing things where I've got a 100 amp hour battery that I used as a power wall so we could run the refrigerator a couple of times and make sure that we didn't lose the food and all that kind of stuff. I get on Twitter and I'm not going to name names, but a guy that I voted for in the election who didn't win, but who, I still support and everything, but he's immediately on Twitter saying, I was out of power for 6 hours, DT. Where's my, you take my money, but then you don't give the service. It's like, man, I feel like that's a very reactionary thing, that there's validity to the complaint, because it's the infrastructure that they as private corporations are building and maintaining, however they came to inherit it, or if they built it and that kind of a thing. It's their infrastructure to maintain and all that, but it shouldn't be. It's a societal large thing, and the problems of society are a burden that they have to deal with from their position. And the question is this big evil corporate entity a big evil corporate entity? Because the way that I have interacted with DTE and the way that they communicate with me and everything about them says to me that they're not. If they are, then they're doing a really great job at it. They're doing it the way that you would want them to do it, which is, if they're a big evil corporation, they're saying all the right things, they're doing all the right things, they've got the people in the places. In an emergency like this, they got people on the ground trying to work things, they're taking care of people's safety. Their messages and their communications, when you go onto their website, when you call them up, it tells you this is, I never got an estimation for restoration of power over the 24 hours to within a half an hour of it suddenly coming back on. Never got an estimated time when it might. And when I called, after having looked at the website a lot of times to see if I'd get more information there, the phone, tells me, the information that we have to give you about estimated times is the same information that we use internally. We're not they didn't say we're not hiding anything from you, but they take the time to explain that the information on the website and the information that this phone system will tell you are based on exactly what we have at our disposal. If we have it, we are telling you it. And they're just good about all of the things. I try and get water turned on for this house when I bought it 6 years ago now, and the City of Detroit Water Services, I gotta go down, I gotta beat doors down, I gotta file millions of pieces of paperwork, and I can't get people to come out and do anything. And I'm waiting on their schedule, and it's 2 weeks from now, maybe we'll have a hole to be able to turn water on to a house. It's come out and there's a valve that's through a pipe so that you're not supposed to do it yourself, but you can buy the thing at Home Depot that you can shove down the pipe and turn it on yourself. But it's the city is not set up to actually handle these things in a timely manner that reflects the necessity of, running fucking water. But the big evil corporation that isn't the city is doing it well in this city. And when I see somebody bitching about the fact that they were out of power for 6 hours when there's a giant fucking windstorm that tore across the entire state, that people in fucking Kalamazoo were out of power, and people in Southeast Michigan and Detroit were out of power, that's an entire state's worth of wind damage that these companies oversee and have to deal with and have to prioritize and figure out who's going to go on. And you, 6 hours? Multiply by 4, motherfucker, is where I was. You know, and I'm not complaining about it, because with as much damage, 200,000 people out of power, the map that they show that they've got, and they show you online of the areas that are out, they're giving you the information. They're not hiding it from you the way that big evil corporations always do, pretending like things are better than they are. They show you the fucking map of outages. It's huge. Giant swaths of just whole blocks of areas of people being out, and then the little speckles of individuals, of homes that were knocked out because of like the pole behind their house, or just the block's transformer went, you know, and there's so much, and they're handling it. And to get me back up in 24 hours, I'm thankful. And they have always been incredibly responsive. When I tried to get electricity hooked up to this house, guy came out, and the representative of DTE, you know, they have their corporate standards and everything, but they also live in the real world. The people who work here in Detroit, they live in Detroit. They're, you know, I needed the house to be grounded, and it wasn't. So he told me, you got to put a ground rod in. I'd love to hook you up today. I can't do it without a ground rod. And the other thing is, you got like some wiring out here that I can see there's cracks in the wire that is the thick wire that goes back to, you know, around the back of the house and then goes to our pole. This part of the wire is your wire. You have to do something about that. And he's looking at it and going, and I would hate to have to do something about that, because that's a big, thick friggin' wire, and it's hard to work with, and it's hard to get where it is. So, you know, you could wrap it. Like, he gave me a recommendation for, like, you can find stuff at Home Depot that you can wrap it with, and then you know, if it's good enough, I'll hook you up, kind of a thing. And he came out once, he told me what I needed to do, I did it, he came back out, he hooked me up. My interactions with DTE have been, my power goes out a little bit, I give him a call. It's one time my power went down for an hour, and I went down into the basement and I was looking at all my wiring for like 45 minutes. Because it was weird. It was like half the house was out, but the other half was still running. I had lights over here, so I'm like, that's got to be a problem with me. Turns out one side of the 210, one of the 200, or the 220, one of the 210 lines wasn't working, but the other one was. So I'm looking at my stuff for 45 minutes before I even call it in. By the time I get up and pick up my phone to call it in, I'm looking out the window and see that they're in a bucket, and they're fixing it. They're like trying to figure out where it is already. I walked out and around the house and said, hey guys, I was just about to call you. And we had a nice little chat. Well, the guy's in the bucket, the guy down here who's, you know, making sure that he's okay up there. You know, we had a nice little chat. The DTE does a good job in Detroit anyway. And you got to have some realization for the burdens that they have in government regulation, and it just, everything about DTE looks like they actually give a shit. Like they actually have an awareness that when power goes out in the winter, people are fucking cold, and food is spoiling, and you know, there are people who can't leave their homes and don't have family and who are sick and who are, you know, they take it seriously, is how it looks to me. And so when I see people like respond that quickly with, oh, where's my money back for the 6 hours? Get the fuck over yourself. Live in the real world. Power's gonna go out occasionally. You can have a reasonable expectation. Get your expectations reasonable. Indeed, humbleness is sufficient after such a horrible disaster, when destroying your whole community with far too many casualties. It's as horrible as a war zone. Day-long power outages were once common in the U.S. The fact that they make national news now is part because electricity is so integral in modern life, and part because it is so rare that it happens at all. Yeah, there's a lot of friggin'... That's what I hate about electricity, and this is where I want to take this conversation, why we're probably not going to get anything done today. Has the dog bone been finished? No, we're just sitting here staring at it while I just talk because I want to. It's going to be one of those days. I'm not a good live streamer. I don't, you know, like, I just get on here and give you guys what you expect, what's in the title, and do that. But it's I gotta talk to you. I gotta I gotta have these conversations just for my own sanity, and hopefully there's some enjoyment that you guys get out of it. I never understand this big evil corporation thing, because most of the time we made these companies rich. I understand the big evil corporation thing because most of them are big evil fucking corporations. But like, you gotta look at them. You still gotta take it case by case. Just because it looks like you know, just because it is incorporated doesn't mean it's one of the big evil motherfuckers out there. It's not Apple deciding that we'll flip one of the wires in the standard USB thing and then sell $1 million, create all this landfill waste and shit because it'll make us more money. It's like there's a difference between an asshole and somebody who's trying to actually, you know, do something that needs to be done. And DTE looks like they actually care, so it pisses me off. Holy moly, you were right. It was 8/16/2016 you bought the house. Really? That is so long ago. You saved the Zillow link. That's creepy. No, that's cool, Mosaic Task Force. Zillow assessed value for 2021 $6,600. You can look on my street and see there's a house that's 2-3 houses down from me that was just renovated and everything, listed for $80,000 with a tenant in it for sale. So I think as close as I am to Hamtramck, which is a little gem of a city within Detroit, that the value of this house is probably... My dad was saying, he was talking to my uncle, and nobody's a real estate expert or anything like that, but my uncle was saying, I think it's probably worth 60 grand as it sits here today, without even like finishing it, because it's not finished. It's structurally sound, it doesn't leak cold air, hot air, that kind of thing, but it's all the bones is what I worked so hard on, not paint and trim. That hasn't been done yet. I wouldn't claim that history is always repeating itself, but is full of tyranny. As much as 5% of humankind don't feel empathy, for example. And that's all of the evil corporations. That's where they get employed. Because it's the only way you could possibly. Could you possibly be part of this giant machine that's based on fucking slave labor in third world countries, in countries that are still trying to recover from the last time somebody bombed them or fucked them over economically. The Michigan governor didn't flee to Cancun, did they? Is that a thing that happens? I mean, I believe, I doubt that she has time when she's ducking all of the attempts to take her hostage because she put a mask mandate out at a time where the entire world definitely needed a mask mandate, so I don't know if she's got time to flee when she's ducking bullets from psychos being led by Trumpist fucking propaganda. Let's see. Most of these people feel something when having power. What are house processes that cheap in America? I paid more than 2 times that for my little house. More than the 60,000, I would presume, because yeah, 2,500 what I paid for this. House prices in America, I would think most anything would start at, I almost want to say 80. If I'm gonna like pick a bottom that is not the bottom but is like the average bottom kind of thing, 80 grand for a small house would be reasonable if it's not in California or some of those other places. But 80,000, and then Ohio for a very long time was known for having like some of the cheapest and best real estate. You could get you could either live in California in a studio apartment, or you could own like a 3-bedroom, 2-story, 2-garage house in Ohio. Paid 128,000 euro for yours, and euro being a bit more valuable than the USD most of the time, if not all of the fucking time, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. That sounds about in line with what the average American home is. This place was on the verge of blight. All of the electric wires had been ripped out, had no furnace, had no electric board, had no water heater. The pipes that would have connected to the water meter were gone. It was ungrounded electrically. What it had going for it was brand new roof as of like 2009 or something, it looked like. But I mean, it was a really nice, it's a dimensional shingled roof. And I knew that is not going to be a cost that I'm going to have to put into the home for like 20 years. And very well vented as well. Most people that crave power, CEOs from Big Evil Corp, do so because they have a black hole in them where most people have empathy. It's a broad generalization, but I'm not going to disagree entirely anyway. $200 square foot, typical in Texas. $200 per square foot. And that's hard translation to square meters in Europe. So that's very, like, when you're squaring meters and squaring feet, it's still, like, hard to figure out. What the fuck does that translate to? I ain't in the euro, the Great British Pound. Oh, I'm sorry, did I read that as euro? And yeah, it was the pound, which is way more valuable than the US dollar. So 128 grand in GBP, like 165 in US, which is still very, yeah, that's about reasonable. I think that's what most people would mortgage a house with a bank for, you know. If you're going to buy something, you usually buy something like that. I mean, mobile homes, anything that's new today that you might buy with a loan is going to be a double wide, and those double wides start, I think, at $40K for a new crappy double wide in a bad place or something like that. 40,000 would be the very bottom low, I believe. The 2007 financial crash was about these guys, and that's what helped me buy my house too. It was, you know, it's very late, but it was the tail end of that. There was a lot of property still living in that. It was seized, foreclosed, bounced around between banks and holders and lenders, and now it was just out there falling to blight because nobody would buy it, kind of a deal. The easiest way to exploit, or to earn money, is to exploit others, so CEOs cannot have empathy. That, I mean, that's really the only way in capitalism to earn money. You know, just a foundational premise that a lot of socialists talk about is the idea that profit is, by definition, the value of someone else's labor that they did not get. Ooh. Thank you, Lady Porn. But yeah, the idea that a restaurateur hires you as a chef, and you know, they buy meat in, and then you take the cost of that meat, and through the value added by your labor, they're able to sell it for 3 times what the meat cost, or 4 times what the meat cost, and there's overheads of running the business and all of that kind of a thing. But at the end of the day, anything that's called profit that somebody takes home because they pay you a set hourly wage while they're making whatever money they can make off of the value that your labor created, and then they sold for it, that's kind of robbery, isn't it? That's your money. If your labor, and, you know, split it amongst all of the people who contribute to it. The person who's, you know, manning the cash register, and the person who's making the food, and the person who's cleaning the store, and the person who's, you know, put the money down to start the store up, and the person who's managing the inventory, and who's having to hire people and fire people and do all the regulatory things. Everybody is contributing to the value add to the product that is then sold for profit, and yet just one of these people will walk home with the big money, and everybody else goes home with fucking minimum wage. That's so inherently capitalism is always an exploitation of someone, or else where would the capital come? Where would the profit come from? It's not what you earned, it's what somebody else earned that you managed to get from them. I could move to America and live in a trailer park as a king, says Speak Above. I've been there. There's some nice places. You know, it ain't bad. Walls are thin. I'm buying a 2-bedroom home in Australia for $250,000, says Portable John. 2-bedroom. A 2-bedroom in Australia for $250K. It must be well located. I mean, isn't the bulk of Australia Melbourne? It's like a lot of land, and so much of it is just not populated because it's so harsh and unhospitable at various times throughout the year. Am I crazy about that? And so most of the livable or the significantly developed and colonized Australian city, it's mostly coastal. Am I crazy? 250K is a lot. It sounds like a lot to me. But is that the actual value of someone's labor? Like Twitch taking half of the sub we give to you. Like Twitch taking more than half of the sub that it used to be. I haven't gotten deep into this, but it used to be that Twitch was, when they started up this affiliates concept, it was 50-50. $5 for a sub from you was $2.50 for Twitch and $2.50 for me. Easy. They now build into what they give, clearly, like the costs of running the thing or something like that. They still claim it's 50-50, but apparently we're splitting the cost of running the platform between us, because what I make is like $2.39, $2.41 for a tier 1 sub. Now a tier 2 sub, where you're paying more money, $10, and we're splitting it 50-50, I actually make less money for some reason. A more valuable but the same thing, but I have looked at the numbers, I've done the math and reversed engineered it and found out that a tier 1 sub is the most money that I will make if, you know, 2 tier 1 subs make more money than 1 tier 2 sub, even though a tier 2 sub is twice the cost. It should be, it's $10 instead of $5. Boom. Ha! But no. I you know, go from like 241 from a tier 1 sub to 236 on a tier 2, and then a tier 3 is down to 232 or so. Like there's 6 cents lost at every tier level, you know, per sub. So it's, you know, it's still more valuable to me because it's 1 sub that's worth 2, but it's like, what the fuck? Number one, how can you say that it's 50-50 and then take money off the top for the cost of operation, but I don't get to like audit you, do I? You, like, if you're gonna say it's 50-50, but it's not 50-50, but you're claiming that we're splitting the costs of maintenance or the costs of something like that, which is implicit, that's what it has to be, or else why am I not? Maybe it's the cost of the transaction itself, of the credit processing or something, but I don't get to audit you. I don't get to see your books. I don't get to say, where's this money coming from? Are your you know, numbers correct? So it's just sliding under a lot of like places where it's like, just be happy to be on the platform, be happy that we made a thing for you, and yeah, fair enough, you know. But there's so much between YouTube and Twitch that just seems like, is this legal? Like, really? Is it just legal by the default of that you've been doing it for so long and nobody sued you? I don't. Good that Patreon takes a smaller cut. Does it? I haven't even... It's very good that some people do support me on Patreon. I'll tell you that. But I haven't looked at the numbers of Patreon hard in a long time, so I don't remember anything about them. And there's just so much more interest. Maybe that's the reason why I don't know about Patreon's figures, because they tend to add up, and YouTube's and Twitch's don't. And so you end up looking at them for hours and going, what the hell's going on there? And then you figure it out and go, oh my god, really? Portable Jim says the 250,000 Australian place is in a regional city. It's cheap compared to the places in major cities such as Sydney or Melbourne. Really? That seems like a lot. I guess just a different, you know, different market in Australia. What was the thing? What is the actual video? Okay. So yeah, there was that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about after, you know, saying get some reason and some decency and some expectations that make sense when you're bitching at your power company for the power going out. It was a massive, you know, storm. There was a lot of shitty infrastructure, and you can be angry with them that the infrastructure wasn't already updated, but it's a complicated fucking world, isn't it? You know, the numbers during the day of crews that DTE has out and about are like 1,400 and something like that. Crews across Michigan that are out trying to keep up with this stuff overnight. They still had like 300 crews out trying to do things, and they have to wait for the weather to die down. And just don't bitch about a 6-hour outage like it's the end of your fucking life, huh? And have some compassion when you see people are doing something right. Give them the credit for it. Otherwise, they'll go, well, if you're going to still treat us like a big evil corporation, maybe we should be one. Fuck it. Because they could do things a lot worse. Most do, you know. That's no excuse for, well, they could be doing it worse, so don't complain. No, what I'm saying is I think they do it pretty goddamn well for the situation that they're in. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about was it was a hard night last night. It was a hard night. The power was out, and I wouldn't say that it was because it was hard to sleep in the cold. I don't feel like that was necessarily it. It was hard to sleep because the power was out. And all day, like, I worked in the basement to wire something up and everything, but I didn't get to have, at the end of the day, what is my usual, like, thing of sitting down in front of the boob tube, which for me is YouTube, and staring at whatever fun, stupid, inconsequential... Like, I intentionally have certain things that I want to watch at the end of the day because they don't make me think, you know? Because they're just what they are. Not challenging, it's just something. It's nice, you know? It's not reminding me that the world is on fire. It's not... It's where that used to be my mentality on making content was, you know, I'm an entertainer, I'm going to entertain. I'm not going to, like, make you feel shitty. And now it's just, I live in between those two worlds because it's got to go back and forth for me as an entertainer. I can't just always keep the smile on and pretend like the world's not on fire. But I can do that on certain days for you. And other days we're going to talk about how the world's on fire. And I hope it's a decent balance, which is not often getting lost in the world being on fire. But yesterday, or last night, hard night, and the reason was that I didn't have that, like, that cool down. I didn't have something to ease my brain into a lull. So it just kept running, full speed. And I'm a, you know, Zen practitioner, 3 years, Buddhist monk once upon a time. I've got meditation, I got breathing practices, all kinds of stuff. And it was still a hard night last night because the brain just didn't... I didn't realize how much reliance that I had built up on having background noise that just takes your attention enough that you don't have to deal with your own head. But also isn't so engrossing that you have to deal with your own head. You know, it's just enough, just the right level of, so much buzz and hum that needs to go on just to, like, not get lost in your own mind. And so it was a mentally hard night. I had these kittens that were trying to sleep on me because it's so cold. And I just kept feeling, I'm laying on my back, there's one kitten here, there's one kitten between my shins, and I just keep having these pangs of, like, claustrophobia. Of knowing that I'm underneath these kittens, that if I move, I disturb them, and then they have to go off and be cold. But also I want to move, or I'm not comfortable, but I don't need to be more comfortable than this. I can sleep like this. And just, like, the mind just doing its mind thing. And, you know, I know it's going on. I see it happening. And I want it to stop, but I can't stop it. So I go to my practice. I go to, you know, the simplest, the most basic meditation of just breathing and focusing on my stomach and counting my breaths. And I'm doing that, and it's not helping. It's not working. My mind's still managing to, like, back from my early practice days when you try and practice, like, after the first month when it's all newlywed, oh, it's so great, it's so grand, you're lost in it. But you know, new Zen practitioner days where you try to focus on your breath and on your stomach, and your mind just keeps kind of going. And you notice, like, 5 minutes later on the meditation mat that you weren't here the entire time. You weren't present, you didn't have your ears open, you weren't seeing what you were seeing through your eyes in meditation form. None of it, you were lost in your mind, and the whole point of this practice was to not do that. And yet you've been doing that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe you missed the whole goddamn meditation. I couldn't stop getting taken away by my mind from just trying to calm down. And it was especially hard because of those claustrophobic, those closed, the panic attacky kind of vibes of just sudden pangs of, like, I don't want, I'm underneath these kittens, I'm trapped here, as illogical as that was. It was there, and it kept panging up. And what I did was probably hour and a half, 2 hours, I laid there in the suffering of that mind activity. And I just refused to stop practicing, to stop using it as, to stop letting it overwhelm me and then grab hold and say, okay, I got lost again, pull it back. And then it would overwhelm me again. And then, okay, I got lost again, pull it back. I just didn't break out of it. I didn't run from it. I wallowed in the filth of my own mind that I have been training, that I realize now I've been training so much to just distract itself. Not just by outside media sources, but if I lay down and I feel like I still got like some mental energy at the end of the day, then I'll just lay there and I'll do projects in my head. I'll think about like this thing or that thing, or I'll imagine that and then just kind of work something. There's gears always turning, and I've been encouraging that, which the practice of Zen that I did for 3 years is the exact opposite of. But it can be so nice when it's nice, and when it's not, it's awful. It's torture, and it was torture last night. And, but I stayed with it, and I didn't run from it, and I didn't give up on it, and I didn't have anything that was conveniently at hand with the electricity out to distract myself away from it, so I just fucking took it. And I eventually got to something that my Zen master, that I'm told by my senior student in recent communications with her, my Zen master has been calling absence action. That was like the main message that, in talking to my senior student, she said, Sunam says you should try practicing absence action. He says it's where you act without mind, without self, without thinking, kind of a thing. And that was it. It was as brief as that. Practice absence action. She might as well have just said practice absence action. And everything was packed in those words. They were seeds. They were Zen seeds planted by a master. He managed to pack a whole fucking, volume of ideas and philosophies and all of the things that you could conceptualize into 2 words, so that you wouldn't have to conceptualize them. You would just understand them. And I feel like last night, I after all of that torture and horror of dealing with my own mind, I actually got back to places that I hadn't been since I was practicing regularly at the Zen Center. I experienced the fear of the loss of self, and was able to like be there with it and also let it go and move past it and then have it come back. And then, if you're dealing with that fear of loss of self, it means that you're close. It means that you're doing something right. Because it's like, if you can slow the turning gears of your mind, if you can silence the monkey that's bouncing off of the walls constantly within your head to the point where when it manages to eke out something, it threatens your entire ego structure. It's only got a few words to slip into the void of the nothingness that you are becoming one with, and so it's going for the fucking ribs. It's going in there, it's to kill, and so it's shouting up from the hole that it's in, echoing out chambers of, you're gonna lose you, that kind of a thing. That what you're shutting down, that what you're letting go. It's not shutting down. It's not like a getting rid of. It's a letting go, letting pass. Acknowledging that these thoughts that are coming up are not you. They are your thoughts. They are passing clouds. They do not define you. It is when you choose them and interact with them and let them control you and find yourself lying on a couch with 2 kittens underneath or on top of you, you feel like you can't come out from them, and that's a thought process that I feel like I'm trapped here, even though I know I'm not, and you're doing like I feel like I'm this, even though this, and therefore I'm judging myself, and monkey mind, cyclical thinking, self-torture. And I feel like by sitting in that self-torture and just not relenting against it, just eating the fucking pain, I got to a place of silence that was vast. and that was so vast that I wasn't in it. And that's when I started to hear those echoing shrieks of self from the bottom of the pit yelling, "What about us? What about me? What about you?" You know, that if you cease to act solely based on the movements of your mind, then you lose yourself. Isn't that you? Isn't that what you are? Isn't that who you are? Isn't it your ideas? Isn't it your thoughts? Isn't the things that you want to talk about, the words that come up into your head? Isn't that what we are? And in this silence, there's no room for us to do that thing. The silence that you've chosen. This place where you're just open, where you're just listening. Eyes are closed, going to sleep, but you can hear the breath of the kittens. You can hear everything that's going on outside, and you're just fully immersed in what is right now, right here, and there's no room for you in that. You need to get in here. Don't forget about you, your mind and your ideas. We've got important work to do while we lay here torturing ourselves with thoughts and panic and fears. Come back. That's some deep, heavy shit that I hadn't touched in a long time, that I practiced for a long time and dealt with, but over and over again. And then, it came back up last night, I feel, from neglect of my practice and from engaging in things that are counter to it and thinking that I wouldn't be touched by the karma. I wouldn't be touched by my own actions. That I'm free. I can do whatever I can behave however I won't. No, the karma still comes back around. Train yourself to do the wrong thing and then think that you won't naturally start doing the wrong thing. That there won't be any comeuppance for the wrong thing that you're doing. No, I punished myself last night without trying, without wanting to. And I suffered the flogging, and on the other side of it, touched nirvana. I don't know about that, but I touched an emptiness, a vastness, and smelled more deeply than I have in a long time what it would be like to be without mind. Presuming that I was experiencing some level of it in the moment. I mean, the fact that I express it like that is so many levels of mind that I was aware of in that moment. Did you lose actual power, says Like 89? If you're just showing up, yes, I was out of power yesterday. For 24 hours, until this morning, we were out of power. So it got real cold, but we're back online now, obviously, or else we wouldn't be live streaming. But yeah, it was a hard night with some very good things that happened in the middle of hell. For me. You were talking about how socialists say profit is exploitation. What do you think of socialism? Well, hang on, Rhinestone, because Mosaic Task Force says, my mind has fear when I have cold nights as well. I lived in a caravan without heating for 2 years, so 32-degree Fahrenheit inside at times during winter. Still sleep in a tent outside during winter from time to time, but I have heated rooms to escape to. Yeah, I don't know that it was the cold. I think it was just the absence of background noise. The absence of something to turn the brain down slowly at the end of a night. Didn't have a bunch of electricity to distract me in order to lull me to sleep. And then I found myself lying in the mire and the muck of an unkempt mind. Rhinestone, what do I think of socialism? I think socialism is great. It's great. I think that any word, capitalism, socialism, otherwise, any term that's supposed to be an economic policy or a social policy or a political policy or something like that, does not really contain what it contains, what it means to people. In modern America, what socialism means to most is not necessarily one-to-one with Marxist teachings. But what it does express, what I think is uniform in what everybody thinks of as socialism, is the idea that, you know, we need to prioritize caring for each other as though we are valuable without putting a dollar sign on everybody's fucking head. Without, you know, isn't it fucked up? Isn't it fucked up that since the moment that you were born, you've been charged to live? Someone's been charged for you to be alive. There is a cost to you existing that is implicit. There is a price tag on your head from the moment before you were born. While you're being conceived, while you're growing in your mother's belly, the cost of you coming to be is something that has to be considered. And then once you come to be, there's a cost of you becoming something, and then the end goal of you becoming something, apparently, is to become something that can pay for itself, and maybe pay back for the things that it couldn't pay for because it needed others to care for it. Just the costs that our entire existences are predicated on the idea that it is a financial burden for you to live. We have exploited this world. the massive amount of production and yield brought about by the industrialization of our planet, for which we have paid in the form of the global warming and the pollution in our air and the lead in our water and the growing rates of cancer from various chemicals that 3M has, and so forth and so on. We have paid for all of these. We have worked for all of these. We have made all of these things, and the amount of production that we have now, the amount of production that we can output with the least input of labor is amazing. And we see the benefits of none of it, of almost none of it. We get trinkets and toys thrown back to us. Production, yeah, here's a fancy little, it's a pocket supercomputer that you can play games on and talk to your friends. We have industrialized the surface of the planet. We've created systems that, you know, can just about reap, grow, harvest, yield, just collect our food. We have more food production than we have people who can eat it, and yet people are still starving because we just don't give them the food. It's just easier to throw it out if they're not going to pay us for it, because there is a price on their head from the moment that they are alive. And if they can't pay that price, they must be doing something. They must not want to live. This is the world we live in. All of the things that we and that our forefathers and our fathers' and mothers, that we have sacrificed and we have worked, and all of the people who have died and that have, all of the things in order to get to this point, the research, the science, the people going against institutions and you know, everything that we've moved forward, and now we have so much and we don't have it still for some reason. We have it, but we don't have it. And there's still just a price on your head. Like, we are very much in the place. And getting deeper and deeper into it every day, where, like, our technology and our industrialization and the work that we've put in order to create these systems and in order to grow our abilities to provide, have made it unnecessary to have our labor in so many different industries, in so many different places. The jobs, the work that needed to be done has been roboticized. Hooray! We don't need to do that anymore. We need a couple of people to oversee those systems, very smart people and engineers and robotics, you know, people who know that stuff, to oversee systems that can do the job of thousands of laborers and do them better and faster and more consistently. And yet, we are still dealing with the price that is on our heads. The jobs have gone away because we don't need the labor anymore, because we have advanced as a society, and they are going away more and more and more. We don't need the labor in these various places, and yet we are still beset upon by politicians and philosophers, just assholes, with their podcasts and shit like that, with the idea that you need to be out there working. You need to get out there and do some work and be a... But we don't need to do that work anymore. And that means that there aren't as many jobs. We have more than we need for everybody, but they don't have what we haven't given them the food that we grow in excess, and they're still starving, but we don't need them to produce the food because our technology is so good, and so they don't have the money to buy because they don't have the job, because we don't need them to work for it anymore, but it's still their fault somehow. It's still... Where we are right now is on this, growing pains place of technology and production and engineering and science, getting to the point where we are not needed for a lot of the manual labor that needs to be done. And we're dealing with the problem of, if we don't need you for labor there, but maybe we need you for labor elsewhere, but you still need to pay your way. There's still a price tag on your head. We don't need your labor, but you still have to come up with the money, but we won't give you the money because you're not doing the labor that we don't need from you anymore. We're in this weird growing pains place, but importantly, it only gets weirder from here. Technology only outmotes the need, or gets rid of the need for labor more and more and more and more and more from here. And then what we need are intelligent people who are well-rounded human beings and who can see and who can interact with one another and who can make the world a better place in ways that is not just down to grunt work in the fields or on the factory floor. We have created our entire human society based on evolutionary fucking primitive animal mind survival mechanics, and we're still there even though we have created systems that make it unnecessary in so many ways, but we're still going to cling to this economic and social system and this idea that you should be guilty about not needing to participate in this grunt work shit that we don't have. You don't have to fucking strike a stone against a thing anymore to make a fire, and you also don't need to stand on that assembly line putting on that piece every day because there's a robot on this. But because you can't do that anymore, you don't have the money to live. It only gets weirder from here if we continue to be stuck to these monkey brain survivalist instincts as our own accomplishments that we have suffered, that are, that everyone who came before us has suffered to create on the surface of the planet. If we don't change the way that we think about this thing, if we continue to value our own lives and our own everything that we are based on, are you an earner? It's so hard to talk about this thing because it's so built into the valuation of every human being, because it's just the world that we've always known, the world that we've always lived in, the value of course you have to pay for yourself. There are other people out there. Everybody's got to pay for them. Everybody's got to make their own way. Of course. It's so hard to talk about it because there is that guilt that we've been given from moment one, and it's very much to the benefit of people who take advantage of it, to feel that yes, we owe something. We need to bleed and sweat in order to just live each day. Instead of, and you might say, well, what's the alternative to that? You think everybody's lazy, they're just sitting at home and just consuming, and no, the consumer culture is precisely what you've created with your fucking cyclical capitalist structures. It would be that the value of a human life would not be dictated by your labor, and I'm not going to define what the value of a human life would be, because it would be open. You wouldn't be implicitly judged by every system and everyone everywhere based on how much money you have. It would become... I think it's hard to talk about because we so definitely and strictly value ourselves based on what we produce, based on what money we have, based on, these very physical, meritorious accomplishments, while undervaluing so much that is so much more important. The impact of an individual who inspires other individuals, the impact of an individual who does a lot of thinking, who does, the ideas that came from this person, but they didn't, do them. the value of art, the value of expression, the value of, like, there is no value to your life, if I'm going to be real Zen and Buddhist here. And the desperate need for value is a part of this problem, and the system has given you an explanation of what your desperate need is, and they've made it real simple so you can latch onto it and swallow it, which is, it's money. It's your production, it's your output, it's your yield. That's the value, that's what you crave, that's what you need to believe that your ego is real and that you are real and that this is all good and strong, yes. It's important that you were here. There is no implicit value to your life. You define what is the value for your life. And in the current system, it's just all about money. And so it's really hard to even imagine that it could be anything else. Or that there could just not have to be a valuation of life. That it could just be that the universe could exist without a dollar on it. Where are we in chat? Because I've been ranting for a minute. Is this the obligatory Ronin monologue? The whole thing has been an obligatory Ronin monologue. We have done nothing today. And isn't it grand? I am you, you are me, so by helping you, I am helping myself. It's a lot of thinking already in there. What if you just helped the guy? What if you just did the thing without even thinking of it as help? What if it was just like, there's a thing to be done, and I'm here. Get real Zen on it. Humans, even 85% of adults, need boundaries to function well. Not chains, but a playpen where people can still have a sandbox shovel, but not giant drilling pins that drain our existence, suggests ND. We need nuclear power and Elon shooting our shit to interplanetary space, says Dendi then. We are riding the wave we call technology, nothing we can do, I think. Maybe we are the slaves to memes so they can evolve to greater planes. That's our function, our purpose in here. Meanwhile, Mosaic Task Force is saying, in the 1960s, robotics was cheered on because it meant that people could retire. But the issue is that those who own the robots will not pay the retirement for the displaced workers. People with disabilities show that society can look past that people have to be earners at least a bit. And it's so programmed into our souls from birth and just reiterated again and again by everything that we know and everything that we interact with, that you need to, your value is your yield, is your earn, it's your output, it's your product. And where it is not specifically monetary incentive and where it isn't specifically about labor, it might be about labor, as in childbirth, as in your output is that you bring the next generation in, and that's what gives you value as a human being, that, you know, you two had kids, and then what they do is an extension of you, and that gives you value, and it's just this desperate need for validation of the self. As though it needs to be here for a purpose. Instead of it's here, and we're here, and we're doing a thing together. Let's do it the best way we can. Let's enjoy ourselves the most that we can. And let's care about one another as we go. That's all that needs to happen. You don't need to have a purpose. You're still my friend, you know? I don't care. I don't want you to have a purpose. I'd rather you be free. And it's hard to be free when you're chasing a purpose that you dreamed up. But, you know, I stand on the side when it comes down to, like, economic philosophy. I stand on the side of, if people didn't have to work, which there's a good argument to say that in a lot of places they don't have to work anymore. If people didn't have to work and knew that every day was, you know, taken care of to the extent, I mean, and this is very anti-biblical, by the way, but to the extent that I'm talking about, like, you know, so long as the entire country doesn't fall into the ocean, to, like, I know that, like, I've got a roof over my head tomorrow, I know that I'll be able to eat, you know, just the basics of survival have been taken care of. If we lived in that world, I believe that the majority of people, if not all people, would find more easily and more readily especially, but would naturally just end up doing things that are productive, things that are good, things that benefit humanity on the whole, but they would be doing what they enjoy to do, what they are good at, what they feel an affinity for. They would be doing it. They wouldn't just be sitting at home, sucking up the fucking TV. They wouldn't just be doing nothing. If everything were taken care of, then there would be more of an impetus to actually find your own purpose, your own meaning, to just choose. You can do anything. And you can explore. And you can explore freely without fear that if you explore this thing, then you're in this hole for the rest of your fucking life and you never get out. Because you can only do this once. You can only, if you train for one thing that you thought you were into and then find out that you're not, well, that's over. You're there. You're there because you need the money for tomorrow, because tomorrow isn't coming unless you pay for it. I feel that you don't need the incentive of death in order to find that people will do the things that need to be done, that people will take pride and enjoy their labor that they find for themselves, that there will be people who want to do the things that need to be done without an overwhelming, crushing desperation placed upon their shoulders by the form of a capitalist oppression of you, every day must be paid for. You must take the money that we give you and put it back into our systems. I think that might work. Let's see. Maybe we are slaves to the money, so they can, or slaves to the means. That's right. I am very happy that you are here, Pawn. Worth every dollar I have sent your way for the insights and hours of fun, says Mosaic Task Force. And then Dendi says, the Buddha himself said that suffering is a state of humankind, and I would just hate it, or hate if it would be without any higher meaning. That's all. Yes, the first precept is that life is suffering. To live is to suffer. But where Buddhism attaches something that you could call a purpose to the suffering, like it doesn't. I hate to conflate the idea of you having a purpose that you're supposed to achieve or attain, because that's just a weight upon the soul, and it's a distraction. But the purpose of suffering is for you to discover why you are suffering. Your body-mind is sending you coded messages. And, I lay on the couch last night and suffered and suffered and suffered. And at the end of it, I had a moment of clarity. And I saw myself without myself. I saw that I could exist without attaching to my ideas and my thoughts and making them into a thing, that I could be without them in a way that is very physical, very real, not philosophical, not I conceived of, I understood. No, I experienced being without me. And I won't say that that's not completely. I experienced approaching a line where my own ego started to shriek because it was so terrified of losing itself. So there's that. Dear Pig 82 is rating with a party of 5. What have you walked into? Oh my god. Hang on, I'll get to that. There's a lot of movement in chat all of a sudden. I recently quit a job where I and my team didn't get work tasks. A big international company had just set our team on pause, paying our salary but not allowing us to do anything. 50% of the team quit within 7 months because they felt unfulfilled. They didn't want to do that. I need a project. I've realized I need a project around the house, or else I just feel like I'm not doing anything, 3 times a week doing the live streams is a lot for me, but when I have energy, I need a project. I want to be working on something. I just want to be tweaking. I want to be tinkering. And I feel like there is a nature to sentience, to consciousness, that you don't need to put them under the bridle of their desperation to make sure that tomorrow they'll have the money to eat. And that's the only way that you can get someone, that people would be willing to do a thing. No. When I'm not doing a thing, I'm always doing a thing. It's the nature of consciousness. It's the nature of sentience. Dendi says, in a world that is so constructible, so logical, so one-on-one, the answer to what is the meaning of it all would be, it's just is just lame. And then nothing, really. That it's disappointing to think that everything is as it is because it is as it is, that there is no meaning, that there's no, goal, that there's no mountain to climb, and then once you get there, you look back and you understand and you see. Or that you put your flag on and then, now you'll be remembered and stuff. There's so much suffering. There's got to be a point to it. There's got to be a this and that and the other thing. And what Buddhism, that's why I was careful about the idea of trying to conflate meaning and purpose with at least with Zen ideals, is that, like, the quest for meaning and purpose is part of the suffering the suffering, like, shows you that you are causing your suffering. And that it's through actions like that. It's nothing I can say in a few words, much as I try and then find myself on the cusp of it and I can't say it. Not here to achieve anything. Life and consciousness is. Dan Bear Pig Raid, I'm very sorry about that. You just walked into a hell of a thing. I'm doing nothing. I've accomplished nothing on the Satellite of Love 1100 part count thing. We're supposed to be greebling. I've just been talking. Had a power outage and then a hard night with Zen consequences, and we talked about capitalism, socialism, and everything else. We just got off, and I'm happy to be off. I'm enjoying it. I'm taking a lap. I saw what you're building and had to come and see. Yes. This is, in terms of building, these are incredible. What I managed to figure out for how to make these pentagonal, hexagonal, geodesic domes within Kerbal Space Program's unique snapping system and nodes and everything like that. Amazing what can be done as long as you're willing to sacrifice the part count and come up to, 1185. Yes, you joined a Zen monk talking philosophy. Ex-Zen, never ordained, with the Satellite of Love on display in full glory. You're not, you are not if you're meditating, if you're doing it right, Pawn. Oh, shoot, it's too old for me to know exactly what it was in reference to, Dan. No worries, philosophy is fascinating. Why, Dendi says, why other have a battle of complexity in a reality that could be 100% without it and perfectly tranquil and fine, for example? Yes, why not? In terms of, like, the idea of the great creator, of anything Christianity or Judaism or any religion or philosophy that involves, like, a creation narrative or even, like, a becoming narrative or something like that. If there is a point to the suffering, if there's a God involved, why did God make us suffer is the question. And then whatever answer you come to, it's like, in order for us to grow and to become to a point where and then it's like, it comes back to well, if there's a magic thing that's creating us and it has the option of creating us to suffer so that we can learn something, could it have not just created us to have already known this thing? The suffering has a purpose. It has a point. Pain has a point. Fear has a point. When you're afraid, it's your body, mind telling you there's a threat. There's, it's getting your attention. Your eyes see, your ears hear, your emotions emote, your thoughts thought. And this is all sensory data that is giving you information that can be crucial in the moment, if you can live in the moment. And I'm not saying that there is no purpose, but that the quest for purpose is distracting from the purpose. If there is a purpose, the one thing that would get most in the way of you fulfilling that purpose is to spend your days wondering what the purpose is. Questioning what trying to figure out what the purpose is, trying to If there is a purpose, as I used to think back in my, more Christian days, if there is a meaning to this life, if there is a truth to the nature of God, another word for just purpose and meaning and everything like that, then surely it exists in everything, right? If there is a purpose, then surely you need not open a book to find the purpose. You need not listen to a certain speaker to find the purpose. You need not follow a certain set of regimented thises or that's in order to follow the purpose. If there is a purpose, and it is in this universe, and it is a purpose for us to find, then surely it exists in every mote of the universe, in every flake, in every grain, in every sight you see and smell you smell, and it must be in everything. You need not hear the right words or the magic. You need not be taught the right thing. If there is a purpose and it is here for us to discover, then surely it is in everything, in every moment. And the only way to, the best way, if not the only way, to actually discover what that purpose is, or to come to one with that purpose, is not to hunt the purpose so much as it is to engage with this. If there is purpose, you will find it in reality. Now, draw as near to this moment as you possibly can, for whatever meaning there is to be found, it exists here. Not here in the book. I mean, you can engage with that and find meaning in it. Maybe that's the reality of this moment, if that's what you're doing. But are you engaged with the moment, or are you lost in the text? Drawing as nearly as you possibly can to the truth of your own reality is the only place where you will find answers. You cannot be told them, because who the hell else would know but you what the answers are to your reality. I came here for Kerbal Found Philosophy. Indeed, Sanshai. And he walked in at a weird moment. We were talking about MST3K. I named my space tug Forklift. He tried to kill me with a forklift. Your space tug, which you named Forklift, tried to kill you with its forklift? Am I reading that? Watch out for the Kerbals with the forklift. It points towards something at least. I don't need a god to be kind. Well, that's nobody says that you do. Me asking about meaning has to be in the compiler, GDMF for sure. What? Oh God, you're all chatting now. Everybody's here. This universe can be the answer of that very question. Yes, that. Looking for purpose, one could find it anywhere. If there is purpose, surely you don't... It's not just in a pocket somewhere, is it? Is purpose like, you've got a purpose, or we as humanity have a purpose, or life in general has a purpose, but, it's only in this green stone that's floating next to the space baby outside of Alpha Centauri, and you gotta get there first, and then you'll find the purpose. Surely if there's purpose, it exists in this moment, or at least the path to it is always emerging in everything around you at all times. If it isn't baked into the experience, then there's no purpose. Whether it was put there by a great deity or emerged there because it is the nature of ourselves and we are all one, and the universe is actually just an expression of itself, viewing itself subjectively as though there is an object and a subject, but we are in fact just one entity interacting with itself, imagining ourselves living linear timelines in order to perceive ourselves in a more interesting way, maybe just because we're bored. Maybe the purpose was to be entertained, and we'll all wake up from this and remember all of the lives that all of us have had because we are one collective mind that experienced everything just for the sake of being able to say that they did it. And maybe we'll walk out of an apartment in just a completely different kind of reality where we're surrounded by other people who are just like that too, who experience all things, and then maybe we are experiencing all of their things at the same time, and it's turtles all the way down. I really like the idea of nonlinear time anyway, of the idea that we are in fact just kind of performing our roles in a universe that has already happened, that there is no nonlinear time, that time is time, that from the moment of the first, of the Big Bang, the sudden expansion, whatever you want to call it, from the creation of the universe by a god, from that moment, it is a deterministic universe, because that's what the science shows. You know, it's you can't throw a rubber ball at a concrete wall and not have it bounce back, because that's how the universe works, because the energy is never negated. You don't lose energy, you don't gain energy. It is because it is always one. It's not because there's energy that's moving around out there so much as all energy is one. And in order for it to do this, it has to do that too. You know, you got to do, if I want it to do that, it's got to do like that. And so when you do a thing, another thing happens. When you occupy space, you push the air out of it. And every single thing is connected to every single thing. That's just the fucking science of it. It's the thermodynamics, it's the Newtonian physics, it's the quantum physics, is that there is no disconnect. You can't travel back in time and stuff like that, because you cannot suddenly place energy where there was not energy before. You cannot move the energy in such a way as the energy didn't react to get there. You know? It can't just happen. It has to be a reaction. It's a reaction upon a reaction upon a reaction, because it's all one system. You know? It's gooey and it's being stretched. And you have to stretch all of it. It all has to move in unison. And so it is a deterministic universe. I like this premise. It is a deterministic universe. And because of that, time is irrelevant. Everything has already happened, because it will always happen the way that it's going to happen. And I like the idea that sentience and consciousness can experience its place in that timeline, and experience nonlinear time. And through experiencing nonlinear time, be aware of and become part of the play of their lives, you know, to take the role that you are taking. It's impossible for you to not, but your awareness of it can be part of it. It's a deterministic universe. You're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to say what you're going to say. You're going to be where you're going to be when the thing happens. Because if you weren't, then the entire shape of the universe would have to be different until this point right now. And it is in this shape, so you are here. So this is it. Deterministic. But you can either be unawares of the fact that you are in a deterministic universe and not know what's coming next, and all the while be terrified and afraid and fearful of what's around the corner and whether or not you're going to survive. Or you can experience with your sentience that you exist outside of time, experience it all at once, and then do all of the things you're always going to do, but be internally performing it. Be aware of it. Be fulfilling your role in it. I don't know, it's fun. Can we launch the bone now, says King Boy? No, we're never going to launch the damn thing. We like to sit here and stare at it. In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move. I like that. If I had to translate the reason of the universe based on vibes, it would be, there is a problem. As though we were created to solve a problem? Or are we the problem and some of the things we need to create something to solve ourselves? The butterfly effect lets you start a deterministic process you don't know the consequences of yet, though. Yes. I mean, the butterfly effect is, again, just like acknowledging the appearance of chaos. I still feel like the butterfly effect is deterministic. I don't know, like, is that something that exists outside of the concept of a truly deterministic universe? That you can, through your own actions and choices, change what happens next because you're present in this moment? You agree with the statement above, Sancha? I mean, we could put it out on the pad. It doesn't do anything. Let me show you what it looks like in comparison to the reference image here. So the big ball and the little ball satellite dish. There's some things poking out over there. There's those, and then you got that. And then there's some like radiator grating kind of there. There's a little ladder and stuff like that. And then we come back and we see the big ball, little ball, these little balls, these little things. We're supposed to be greebling, but with the butterfly effect, it is chaos, but it isn't random. I say we ditch the bone and start over fresh. All right, so Control Alt F4. What do we do? So maybe I should do some greebling, huh? Maybe I should actually work on the damn thing. Yeah. I mean, just because it seems like there's a lot of new people here, and you haven't seen what we've done to date, obviously, would be the concept. So there is an interior to these things. You know, it's not, we haven't interior greebled it yet, but that would be a long-term plan of mine. But these are inflatable airlocks, which, so once we've got Kerbals aboard, they would be able to move from one dome to the other, would be the idea there. I've never actually used inflatable airlocks before, so I don't know how they work. And once you right-click inside the ball, you are stuck with that forever. But all of this is, you can't see it there. Maybe if I approach it from this angle. We're attached by docking ports. These are docking ports, okay? So right here, dead in the middle of the craft, this hallway breaks apart into just from there to there. That's a chunk of hallway. From there to there is a chunk of hallway. From there to there and from there to there. So there's 4 hallways that could all go up to space individually. Then there's our balls. And our 2 big balls, these are one object, but they are also attached via docking port right in here, so that you could attach those big balls to the ends of these hallways. And then in here, you know this little gap that's in there. Well, why? Because there's another docking port structure embedded in there, so that we could attach the middle bit, so that that could all be dragged up as one long piece that attaches to our balls as well. So what I'm saying is, this thing, we have taken a lot of time, and it has been a lot of work. It's been like 5 live streams, but it's been a lot of work, and that's counting this one, where for 2-3 hours I haven't done anything. Building it, number one, in theory, sketching it, getting these balls so that we could make them, but then also rebuilding it in such a way as it comes apart so that it could potentially be taken to space and assembled there. And now we're greebling it. And so that's caught you up to where we are anyway. Chaos is deterministic but impossible, practically speaking, to predict. Okay. But perhaps, in the depth of being right in that moment. Look, what I like is just that idea that you can experience nonlinear time even though you are primarily a linear being. That it is possible for you to perceive that which has not occurred yet, but that is going to. And I like that idea because I have done that several times in my Zen meditation practice. I have been in a number of circumstances that go well beyond deja vu, where I knew that 15 seconds from now, I just suddenly had I know that person's coming down that stairwell. And then, because this had been happening so often, I stopped and tried to listen and smell and feel and try and tell, is it because the air pressure changed? Did I feel like a door opened? Did I hear their voice? Can I hear them coming down that stairwell that's on the other side of that door? And it's complete silence and there's no indication, nothing. And then 15 seconds later, they pop through the door. And other things, many others. And take that scenario and try and tear it to bits and kind of things. But I've just had a number of scenarios and experiences while meditating as a Buddhist Zen monk, or practicing to be a Buddhist Zen monk, where I have perceived what is to come before it comes. I've stood in front of somebody and known the next 3 sentences that are going to come out of their mouth, and had to stand there trying not to laugh as I listen to them say what I know that they are going to say, word for word, verbatim, and not just because they're saying something that's so common or they say it so often, but it's all just there in front of me. So I like that idea. It doesn't have to be true. I just like that idea that we are we are experiencing this universe linearly, but in its deterministic nature, it is ultimately nonlinear, and that we can experience it non-linearly. But that for the most part we don't, because it would be terrifying. Because we would terrify ourselves because of our own attachment to self and to ego and to our desire to be discovering something and coming to something and always climbing the mountain, where someday we'll stand on the plateau and enjoy the sunset, and there's got to be something to conquer, and there's got to be a path that we're following, and then a meaning at the end of it, and it's all got to summarize, and everybody lives happily ever after. We got to have a fucking story to it. And so if we experienced it non-linearly, it'd kind of ruin the surprise. It would undermine our ego complexes. This is, I believe, the 3rd stream building this. Many, many hours. Yeah, I mean, if you So this is build day 2.4, and we start counting at 0 because it was build day 2, and then I started putting points on there. So 2, 1, 2.0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. It's five things, and this one we've done absolutely nothing. Don't they use inflatable ones in the Martian movie with space pirate Mark Watney? Yeah, I haven't seen it. I didn't. There's a lot of good movies about the things that I'm interested in that everybody's like, when are you going to see that? And I'm like, I don't know. I could tell you, but then I'd have to perceive time non-linearly. So what's the deal with this? You just making cool ships, or are you doing career modes at Sunshine? We do career mode on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I've also been building big ships there. But this is supposed to be our creative day where I, do something like this. Our last creative thing, we've changed nothing here, right? Not a damn thing. So I can just open the next one. The last thing that we did just before this was this little guy. He's a semi-truck with hinged sides that open, and then it flies. And it's 61 parts. 61 parts. That was nice. That was 2 streams, actually. And it still don't fly right. Son of a biscuit. We took it out earlier today at the beginning of the stream, and it's like, this isn't flying quite right. It's already the best and most detailed satellite of love I've seen in KSP. Very cool. Well, thank you, Dan Bearpeg. Yeah, I mean, putting a lot of effort into it. Yeah, I just feel like maybe I kind of needed a day off from it. It was our day to work on it, but I had so much to talk about that I wanted to just let it happen. Let it, don't put a demand on the day. If the day's going to go this other way, let's go this other way. There are inflatable modules on the International Space Station at the moment. Really? Still being tested? That's curious. I know nothing about anything. Dundee says we don't feel ourselves as humans at all. We go through life as if we would never die and take the things most close to our heart for granted. We go through life as an elephant through a porcelain vase shop. Vases. Shop. We try to create home with family, but most of the time we feel lonely. We compensate with things that matter less, like politics and fashion. We are aliens on our very own planet. It's a beautiful sentiment. Darkly beautiful, but well stated. I like the darkness of it. Name the satellite Boner 1. Bonier 1. Zen, there's something to the sound of that word. Isn't there? Sounds like it's got to be important. And maybe that's just like part of the marketing. Zen. They got to know something, those people. Don't look up that movie from 1992, I beg you. There's that movie from 1990. Well, you're trying to get me to by putting it in quotes and demanding that I don't. And so I won't, because I'm not going you ain't the boss of me. Listen, if we're going to do anything on this live stream other than just chat, or if we're going to continue chatting even, we need another live stream break. It's 2.5 hours I've been sitting here. Talked about the power company and being out of electricity here in Michigan for 24 hours while it's 39 degrees out. And we got the power back. Obviously, that's how you're seeing everything. But a lot of different topics that somehow led around to, life, the universe, the nature of everything and whatnot, as it usually does around here. But yeah, sometimes we actually do play Kerbal. Most of the time, really. You take the past 20-something live streams since I came back to Kerbal. It's mostly Kerbal, with a little bit of Zen philosophy and complaining about capitalism and things like that. But we need a live stream break. 7-minute. It might be 8. It might be 9. I'm going to try to stay away from 9. No guarantees. 7-minute live stream break. Don't go anywhere. Stay with me. When we come back, something else will happen. And then probably something after that. Seems to be how the universe works. Pawn not howd. Hello, I am the Ronin Pawn, and Jesus, that peaked loud. Sorry about that. Mic's a little bit close. Welcome back to the twitch.tv/Ronin Pawn livestream here on twitch.tv/Ronin Pawn, currently in progress. See how I put those sentences together? I didn't know where I was going, but I put it together, and it sounded like human Earth speak, differently than the article that we read earlier from the Free Press. The lady gets paid to write articles, and it's a journalistic thing, and jeez, it just read like a AI trying to write news based off of what it read earlier. You know, the what it saw was trending or something like that. Bruno Mars's gay rumor mill. Welcome back to the live stream and Mosaic Task Force. Welcome raiders who are still here and gifting several. So what is this? What is this? I'm counting 1, I'm counting 2, I'm counting 3, I'm counting 4 gift subs. Dan Bear Pig 82 who brought in the raid. Thank you so much for that. Welcome to the Big Dick Club. Sanchai, Pro Kitman, and Pika-Pop, a tier 1 sub to Pika-Pop. That's just going around then, isn't it? That's just, and then Pika-Pop, you know, drops tier 3 subs, 700 of them on Thank you so much, Mosaic Task Force. Hi there. Okay, hi. Hello, Score Gaming, by the way. So, we're supposed to be working on the Mystery Science Theater 3000 Satellite of Love. We're in the not-too-distant future, next Sunday AD, which is when we do these things. There was a guy named Joel, not too different from you or me. He worked at Gizmonic Institute, just another guy in a red jumpsuit. He did a good job cleaning up the place, but his bosses didn't like him, so they shot him into space. And that's how we get here, is having been a big fan of that show when it was out, and then going back and watching it, and it's way more like low-key and tame than I remember. I mean, I always remembered it as being subdued in the, like, delivery, the comedic presentation. But, like, what was important about it was all of the production energy that went into it and the sets and everything like that. And then that subdued energy in the delivery from the human characters versus the robotic characters. It worked. It wasn't like I didn't remember that. It was just that, I don't know, it's like, it's more tame, I think, just because of the passage of time and because South Park and everything else. Just the way that media has gone, that it's so fucking all the time in your face. And just I had the feeling that the MST3K, that they were pushing boundaries back then and making references and stuff like that. And now you watch it and feel like it's just comfort food, as opposed to it was, you know, something that was so on the verge of art and everything else, and had that raw, crisp, fucking public access-y feel to it, smell to it, and but it's just different in my memory than it seems to be now that I watch it, and what has changed is not the show, but me. And that's interesting, isn't it? So many references in MST3K. I would like an annotated version. It's like a Dragon Ball Z on YouTube. Just get in all the important stuff real quick. But talking about MST3K segues well into something that Lady Pong, because she's here, she's watching, hi. Mentioned to me during the live stream break, which is we watched Thunderbirds. We watched the first episode of the 1965 Thunderbirds the other night, before the power went out, before the day without power. So Friday night, I suppose. She happened to pull it up, happened to stumble upon it. She hadn't even, like, I don't think she'd seen Thunderbirds before, like, as an episode or something like that. It's just, like, part of her, I'm not saying that she didn't know about it, just, like, part of her thing was like, wow, that looks a lot like Team America, or whatever the ripoff was of that. Like, that was the first thing that popped to her mind. But I'd seen some Thunderbirds before, but I don't think I'd ever seen a full episode, and we watched that, and oh my fucking god. What we saw of Thunderbirds is, I was like, is somebody seriously doing, like, did they do a reboot of Thunderbirds? Because the quality of the video is so fucking good. The quality of the sets, the weight to all these miniatures. They've got, like, strings of beads, like, you know, there's an opening and it's in the evil dude's lair, and there's, like, strings of beads and tinsel and stuff like that, and they get pulled back by, you know, a mechanical structure, and they sweep, like, with the weight that they couldn't possibly have at the scale that they're making it, but it also does not look, they're like zooming in while they're doing it. You know, the shot is craning in while it's sweeping, and so it's not like a slowed down footage trick. They like created, they added some kind of weight, some kind of rigid structure to it so that these lightweight things would move like they should. There's the shot where the pool pulls back at the compound for one of the, you know, spaceship for one of their crafts to go up, and the water is clearly like it's in the right, relatively speaking, like it's not moving like it's miniature water, like it's water on a miniature set and you start moving something. It's moving with weight, and so they either like gelled that water, you know, so that it would be thicker and it would move with more viscousness to it, so that it would be the right kind of weight to it to simulate. The amount of care and detail and production quality that went into that show, and then because it was 1965, they had to have been filming on film, like 32 fucking millimeters. It's glorious. I look at it and I'm like, the lighting is better than what I see. Some of the like shots here where, you know, it's clearly like a canvas background, and then they've got the miniature set built on front of it, but it's so well lit and everything. I'm going, we just watched what was it, Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings, Marvel's that thing. We saw that. I'm going like, look at the friggin' 3D dust clouds. This is off. Like, how are we in 2021 and I'm looking at that and saying, you know, that needs to have The Rock in it playing the Scorpion King. That is bad CGI, and this is a mainstream major Marvel thing. And it's like, you can't do dust in 2021. Hey, what if you did some 3D dust and then you also like layered in some dust that's real, so that maybe you just layer in real dust? What if you cared instead of just put it through the production mill that you always do? And then I watched fucking marionettes on these sets that are built for Thunderbirds, and I'm like, this looks better than that shit. It's incredible, and the fact that they filmed it as opposed to, you know, video VHS and stuff was not a technology that was being used, and it was probably more expensive in 1965 than just film, because everybody knew about film. The fact that it happened to be recorded on film means that the quality is there in a way that was presumably never seen before, because it went out over television, right? So you never saw how crisp and how clear and how beautiful all of this was, and they did not take advantage of the fact that it would be compressed by broadcast television. Every fucking shot is composed to the nines. All the lighting is perfect. It is amazing. It is amazing. If you haven't, you know, ever absorbed or haven't recently absorbed some of that, go back and watch like just the first episode. It's 50 minutes. 50 minutes, and it's fucking movie production quality from end to end, and there's like 50 episodes of it or something like that. Just popped in, says Lo-Fi Loop. What are we talking about? Thunderbirds are go. I saw the 1965 the first episode of the 1965 Thunderbirds, and it's just amazing. 35 millimeter scales up to 1080p effortlessly. It's so brilliant. 4:3, obviously, resolution on it, but I really genuinely, my first thought was, this is Thunderbirds, but this looks so good, this can't possibly be the original. Is someone remaking Thunderbirds? Because they're really going in. No, that's the original thing. It just looks that fucking good. So anyway, when we're done with this, I want to make the aircraft from the first episode of Thunderbirds. Not one of the Thunderbird vessels, but this, like, I don't know, nuclear-powered airplane that there's some sillinesses in the premise. It's like, with our atomic engines, you know, they've got a bomb on board, they find out, and it's like, with our atomic engines, we could be up here for 6 months, but the radioactive shield will decay in about 2 hours. We're supposed to have landed by already. And it's like, really? So you have a craft that can fly for 6 months, but the shielding decays in 2 hours? Is that the corporation skimping out on the shield? What the fuck? Hello, Lord Hades. How you doing? If they'd done all that on videotape, you'd never get more than standard definition quality out of it. Yeah, and it's just amazing. Just amazing. Gotta go find that. Gotta catch 'em all. And if it looks like it's like standard definition or something like that, if it looks like you're watching some VHS recording kind of version of it, that ain't it. Keep looking. The actual film quality stuff was clearly reproduced and distributed on Blu-ray or DVD or something like that. You gotta go find the good shit. I'm good. Did some Christmas shopping today. I'm doing a little Christmas shopping, but I got no good ideas for anybody except for Lady Pawn. I got her stuff. I'll tell you what I got her. No, she's watching. I got her some stuff, but it's going to be a thin Christmas this year. The money is not a. It's not. It's like I got money because I always plan for not to have money because I usually don't, kind of thing. So I always got a reserve going, and then, you know, something comes along, something happens, and then it's another, it refills the reserve. But month to month kind of thing, there's always more outgo than there is input. You know, it's basically seasonal for me in terms of income. You know, I kind of live on once or twice a year. There will be a windfall. So welcome to the show. That's what. I'm lost on what to get my dad, says Lord Hades. My mom's birthday is in December. It's 2 days from now. And yeah, she's like, we're because it's in December and because we both have health issues, my mom and I, you know, we're just going to go out for Christmas. I haven't even like confirmed that with her, but it's a foregone conclusion. We always do. But yeah, I got to get at least, you know, something. And I got just no ideas, no good idea. I got one idea, it kind of sucks. That's all I got. Christmas. That's what I hate Christmas for. I hate all these holidays for. It's because it's like this built-in pressure to do a thing, and it's like, you know, when somebody needs something, you know, if I think it would be nice to get something for somebody, then there you go. But like to have these special days where we're supposed to like spend a month trying to think about what somebody else would need or want and try and get them, it's nice in that it like pushes you back to breaking out of your own, you know, shit that's going on and taking some time to think about the people in your life who you care about and what would enrich their lives and the things that they would want and the thing, you know, and just try and come up with a way to help them. But the pressure that I feel to come up with shit when there's just nothing really that, like, they're fine. They don't need more property goods as far as I know. You know, it's just kind of, it's waste. I don't like it. Gets in my way of greebling. All right, so if we were going to carry on with greebling, talked about thunder. I talked about everything. So here as we enter hour 3, maybe I'll put one part on and say we did our greebling work. Let's go home. I remember like my sticking point last time was this area here, right underneath the ball and next to these two little nose caps that we have put in there. Is this like open book kind of, you know, two rectangular structures that are inset kind of a thing. And we don't have to do that, but, you know, we're looking for something that kind of fits that space. And then we're also, in specific, trying to limit ourselves to lower weight objects that aren't going to consume ridiculous amounts of our resources, of our mass that we'd be lifting up if we towed this thing to space, and that aren't just kind of useless on the craft. Like I pulled this cube out. I don't have need for a Probidyne cube on here, but I pulled it out to see if it maybe had like a horizontal inset kind of thing. What about the Rove Mate? Well, in this texture pack, we got some interesting things going on there. It serves as an extra battery. It doesn't weigh that much. It's 0.15. It weighs a lot, and it's a big nuisance to have to even consider bringing with us, is what I meant to say. If I get you to there, and then I just snap you on there, there's a lot of little lines to it. Is there another color? Okay, we can wrap it in foil, or we can make it a darker gray. And the thing is, as much as we are popping this thing with color, you know, the original, it's airbrushed with some different layers kind of a thing, but it is very gray. I don't love where we are right now in terms of color, but it is what it is going to be what it is. What do you look like on the other side? Well, you embed perfectly, but you're just too damn flat. Oh, shoot. When I hit Control Z, we're here for 15 seconds. It's a lot of parts that we've got on the thing so far. If I were to embed you from here, and we're not worrying about the corridor interiors in specific, because they're already kind of a mess from all of the docking ports and things like that, so we're not going to worry about greebling up the corridors, even though it would be really cool to use robotics and make like a and do the whole MST3K intro thing. It's not going to happen. I do want to do at least one of the balls. I mean, we got to have a theater interior for them to be where they would be watching the worst movies they could find. La la la. And it would be nice to have one that was the set, you know, where they presented everything. So at the end of this is that, like, booky looking thing, and that kind of works. How are we looking in terms of what's on the interior with that? I'm okay with that. I hate how much it weighs, but it's got to be, something's got to give. Oh god, I got to control that again. Hang on, everybody. And there we go. Because I didn't apparently click on the thing. I clicked on the panel underneath it. I guess it's too embedded. Click on that. Because I just want to, like, experiment with dragging it down a little bit. I don't hate where it is centered-wise. Go up a pixel or something. Just looking at where you are in reference to that. The top is kind of aligned with the top of the other, but this is not going to fit there well. Ooh. I mean, it aligns with the top. It gives us an extra little something that's hanging off there. But I feel like it looks very much like it's hanging off. And there is a little hang off there from that thing, too. It's not quite. It's not quite, is the thing. So what if I lined you up there and lined you up with, like, that edge? And then, how about I move you up to here so that you're more in line with that, and then I grab you, and you come up a touch. Like, where was the... So we've got this little line under there, and then we've got that going that way. We've got... Yeah, that's still doing that thing. And then at the end of you was that... was this. So I'm changing the alignment of some things that look more central in order to adjust for that bit. I certainly liked it before, I think, more. I think it was more honest to the original design. I pull you back down, pull you back down. You're in there, and then if this is going to be here, then fuck. I did it again. Hang on. Control Zetting. And there we go. We're back in. Where's this piece? There it is. Grab you with the positioning tool. And then I'm just going to ignore their orientation to one another for now and leave it there as a hard maybe. We get to the end of you and there's two little somethings there that could be as simple as some science equipment, some sort of boring gray science. Ooh, what are you? Surface scanning module. Oh, you're a big thing. Ooh, I wonder where we could use you. Shoot, you actually could replace that, maybe. Like, there's so many different sides to it. It's not going to have the right anything pawn, though. There's so many different sides to it. There's a lot of different, like, panel... There's a panel thing that could be used. See, and that could be, like, this part of the square, and then we'd need something else to fill the other part. It's small, though. Let's not get distracted on that. You got something to stand in there. Just keep in mind that that exists. Okay? Good. Keep me honest. So, I'm looking at that little piece right there. Yeah, you guys can see that. That little piece right there. And is it... Do we want it horizontal or do we want it vertical? I think I want it vertical. You... And then do I have something else that's small and gray, but is not exactly the same thing because that'll be too up in your face? I don't think I do. The closest would be another one of these GravMax units, which is also very close to the other. And this is definitely, yeah, you do need to be horizontal. And then you would need to be straight up and down. Okay, I don't trust what I've already done to that. Okay, no snapping, please. So you got a little thing there and a little thing there. They're pretty close to each other in the shot, and they're pretty close to each other here. Yeah, okay. The stuff that's going on down there, I wasn't happy with at all. We've got 3 little, like, bursting out duct works at the bottom over here. I don't want to just keep using these light bars, especially since they're a little bit shorter. But when we've tried to do where is it? So I don't have to think of the word. Struts! When we've tried to do struts, they're a bit of a thing to try and get to work in a way that works. About like a little grip strip here. Oops. So because my thought was I could actually build the strut off of the grip strip, and then it would have height. Yeah, and that's a no. I couldn't like build it onto itself, and then if it does something like that, yeah, it's because of the vectoring nature of that. So the other things. Let's try with the struts again. We've been down this road, Paul, and it doesn't look good. Ooh, little grip pad. I don't know why it seems to keep being a different angle every time I come back to it. Where are you? You're past it at the end of this, but it can't be past this because we need this clear, unless all 3 of them are on that one. I might be able to get away with that if I tuck it in real good. So if I put 1 there, 1 here, it's gonna be a little tight, but it's one of our docking port spots, so I can't take it to the next one if I'm gonna have it back here. Alright, so you got that going on, and the idea would be if I can strut on the side of it, and then strut to the next one. I mean, it gives you a little hump going on, but it certainly ain't pretty. It ain't as pretty as I'd want it to be. Try and rotate you flat with the object. Doesn't look like you want to rotate flat with the object. Yeah, you see how I'm not loving that, and why. And trying to adjust them off of that, it just wouldn't work either. If I got rid of you, and then I came off of you, instead of like that direction, I'm coming off of you. No. Yeah, like that. And then down to here. And then I try... Oof, is this going to give me an angle that actually works if we're on absolute snapping? Yeah, that does get in line. Okay, and then you... So... See, now you want me to go back to talking about capitalism and Zen philosophy and Christianity, right? Now we're into it. Now, the thick of it. It's not awful, but it also isn't great. That. Take it all the way around. Does that change anything? Your alignment is off. That's the weird thing about these struts that we found last time. Is that... no, that's, again, not what I was trying to click on. I was trying to get you. Have I got a hold of you now? yeah, come with me, is that if we get them aligned from the angle that we're looking at them and they're straight, which I don't know that they are right there, it's close anyway, along with that line and that line. But then when we come back and look at it from anywhere else, I mean, that's extra standing off, but that's the problem, is that it adds another dimension of viewness to it. Viewness, yes. That doesn't really... It makes 3 straight lines look like they're not straight anymore. And my God, the amount of effort required to put all that together. I just figured out what we're going to do for that. So we had to go down that road for me to suddenly realize what part will just fit in there. And that would be under electrical, the radioscopic thermomajigger. I'm just worried that it's not really enough space for all 3 of them unless I do like that, and then it wouldn't like bridge together anymore. Yeah, there's more gap there, so I think we're gonna move that up to here. Whoa. I'm gonna have you come out to there. See, but then there's just not enough room because of this piece that isn't in the original design, but we needed something to help it stand off, and it looked kind of okay when we put it on there, so we went with it. Damn. Does that mean then that you've got to move the whole thing in even more? That ain't at all the kind of position. It's this one, and then that one's a little bit below it, and then that one's further out. Which is kind of what you've done there. It's too tight. Damn it. I thought those were the thing. It popped into my head. Ah, we use radios something somethings. But maybe not. But maybe. Don't give up yet. Because what if I embed them so that we're just seeing 3? 3 of those coming out, which gives me more room to try and fit them in. Just got to make sure it doesn't pop out from the top there. We got you there. And then, you know, you'd still be over here. Ah! You're going to go in. We just got little bits of it. And then this one would have to actually come back off and go in somewhere over here. And I'll be honest with you, I'm losing interest in because of the level of attention to detail I'm trying to put into it. I'm not having the best time that I've ever had. And I'm just not loving my product. I put the time and the labor in, and then I look at it and I'm like, that's not what I want. That's not it. It's not it. You know, I was hoping that there'd be a breaking point where suddenly it just starts clicking. We start snapping into, yeah, this is what we use for that. Oh, that's we've already used that before, so that'll be a good representation over there. We know that looks good. I'm not finding it. These things don't actually attach. They have to be put into another part. Wow. And that's just a ground one. Utility. Just looking for something that something's with the something. And then it does the something. A little something. Which is something. Mobility enhancers would not substitute for that at all. Could just call it mystery goo. Yeah, we could just call it mystery goo. A little bit bright in terms of color. And all I can do is change the mounting brackets on it. Yeah, maybe I will. What the hell was that picture? What? Which one? It's not penises docking, King Boyk. It's not. Whatever you're looking at. I know. Like how far back can I have you in order to maintain enough room to then have... So the second one, it would want to be even further up, but as far out as I can have it. And then that one would be more like that. And maybe a little bit further down. You're penetrating a little bit back there. I can pull you forward a touch. And then we've got, boom. Yeah. We're low on space for all this stuff to line up. I think if you're a lot closer, it might help a lot. Actually pull you down to make the space between them a little bit evener. And then from that perspective, it's like, yeah, that's even space. And you come up here and then turn off axis. It's like, oh, Jesus, they're miles away from one another. Can I embed you a touch more? Yeah, maybe that's the problem. I'll get you there. There's more gap between them, we just don't have the space. /Jack, that is the satellite of love from Mystery Science Theater 3000. No, but it's meant to look like it. And just, we're so close, and yet so far. Just won't do it. Every little thing is like this. Every little thing is wants a tweak, needs a tweak, and then I pull back and it looks weird, and it's like, why does it look weird? What do I have to do to make it not look weird? I'm gonna leave that as it is for now. Let's try filling in this gap. What's going? What's good, baby? So this gap is, you got that, you got the ladder. So this ladder, and then you got that, is what those represent. But this space right here, we got two little circles, and we got a little line that runs off of that way. Oh, it's the two lines. I remember that. That's the two lines that we did. We ended up doing them with these, huh? So those two lines are meant to be that. And then there's the two dots there. There's something going on right there. Weird shadow making it hard to tell what that could possibly be. We get the two lines, and then over here, that could actually be four little humps. 4 little humps. Or are they 2 circles? My eyes are seeing it 2 different ways. You get like 2 little circles. Can you guys actually see what I'm trying to mouse over? Or is it under chat? These little things. I think it's 2 little circle indented circles, which we've done very well with stuff like this already. It'd be nicer if it were even smaller. Do we have something even smaller? Like, you're the RCS fuel tank, and that's exactly what that is. So, nothing's going to be smaller than that in that scaling. Which means maybe we're just using these. Give me this. Hey. Okay. What are you, by the way? Xenon. Yeah, I think this will work fine. So then you go in, and it gives us that just nice little lifted look. Just want to make sure there's no weird texture tearing going on. Yeah, I'll even let that little bit of yellow sneak out. We'll make some space. I'm going to put another one over here. Do a similar thing. And then you guys are closer. What are we looking at in terms of spacing? These guys are well away, and then you get the 2 things, and then it's right next to those and right in line with that. Scaling can only be so realistic. I don't like that they're the same as that now, but it's kind of got to be what it's got to be when it's got to be. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It argues for where those two are there, and then there's like a little something there. Let's see if there's some just junk science we could throw on there. Oh, that's too big. I mean, I was saying the surface scanning module, that we should make use of that at some point, because it's pretty. I'm just curious about the other sides of it and things. So that's going to be boring as hell, and... Oh, but that side has like some little things hanging off of it. Yeah, I might save the good side for another day, for another thing. I'll get you down more or less parallel, and then just eyeball the spinning of this, see if we can't get it into an alignment. Let's go to an absolute rotation with snap. And that looks pretty good. And if I embed you a bit like that, pull you over, pull you up, because I feel like this is, whatever it is that I'm seeing that's tucked in there, it's just a little texture that's along there. Give you some extra space. What if it were the other way around? So those little things that are aren't hanging off the top of it. Just a little extra texture next to those. And it looks like something you can get out and grab the hose and refuel somebody who's next door or something, pulled up next to you. You just grab the hose there, Bell. Pull you down a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't make such a ghastly showing of itself. Maybe one more pixel down so it's underneath that. You get that little lip still. Yeah. Yeah. And then all of these need to not be where they are. Like maybe, you know, if it's just so little room. With that big old tank there where it is. Just pull you away some more, give you some more room there. And then we got those three, and then there's a little something there, and then there's the two things, and then there's some bars that go across there that could be longer if we had some, but we don't, so it's there, and then you get this thing, and then there's like a pipe above that, and then there's shit that goes up and down over here. We got some shit that goes up and down over there, but we need some more shit that goes up and down over there. And I've been looking and waiting for my chance to pull this guy out. Put you in. It's more in line and it's more in set. Like if this, whatever that is, that's bulging out of there is that, and the thing right next to it should be pretty much equal. It would be nice if it were yellow, which means that one of these batteries might work well there. In fact, what the batteries are representing for, that's, they're gonna stay where they are. Are they? Yeah. Okay. I'll pull you down, put you dead in line, tuck you right up next to the thing. It's clear that you're a two-pack part. And there's some little bumps and divots over here. And what if, from our utilities, we actually pulled out some navigation lights that I haven't used at all? I think yet. And said that there's a navigation light right there. We can change its color to be gray. So it's just a little bump. By the way, when we turn the light on, hey, we get a little light. That's great. I don't know that we want it. So that'd be that bump that's there, and then there's like 3 little groovy lines between it. I don't necessarily have to greeble that, but this here and that there, it's looking like another good opportunity for these in terms of the kind of blue wash that we're getting from that piece. I mean, this piece actually does look like, you know, the way that these things are greebled is they break out a bunch of packs from, you know, planes that you assemble and tanks and stuff like that, and so like this piece actually does look like it's the same as that piece, which is cool, and maybe the same as that up there, because we've actually used that piece, and it would be the same as the piece that's over here that's just up and to the left of our navigation light. And there's no problem with putting this on the seam. Not that seam. Alright, well, don't anyway. Okay. No, I will. I'm going to put it right on the seam, though. Yep. Yep. And there's this space over here that's so, like, in this shot anyway, I can't tell what the hell that's supposed to be. In this shot, it's still just a lot of greebling. It's just a lot of weirdness. In that shot, yeah. Just kind of rough texture without a lot of shape or form to it specifically. Which I guess we could interpret as being we have creative license. I don't see anything here that's going to license me creatively. God, you have near future solar installed. Do I? I don't... There's nothing that I intended to have that shouldn't be in the base game. It's got different appearances because of the visual mod pack that I've gotten here, but do I have something that's, like, really weird? So if we're doing a little bit of interpretation. We don't want it to stand out too much. Oh, but I love how those, you know, these pipes that bow up kind of do... It reminds me of that movement there. Calamitous Penguin. 4 months worth of subscription, all skill, no luck. Welcome back to the Big Dick Club. Thank you so much for the the money. The money is good. Thank you for supporting the channel. I'm not even committed to that solar panel being what it is either, but... So do I embed you... And then maybe just there. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. And then I'll move you up there, and then we need a little bit more crap going on below it. Maybe? If I move you out a touch. I know it all kind of flows together there, but this is the place where we're just slapping some things down and seeing how and it works. Does it? Will it? Can it? A thermometer. I'm also interested in, like, the backs of things, like a solar panel, but we flip it over. And now I have to be able to grab that solar panel. Will probably require me penetrating in order to get a hold of it. And then drag her out. I mean, we're just doing this space. Kind of hard to read, but it looks like there's more of a straight line coming off of the bottom of that, and then there's some junk back there. Maybe the solar panel side of things actually happens back here, because this is getting, like, the weight is getting... We gotta have something back here anyway, even though it's the part that... It's a place where everything is supposed to connect via docking ports. But it's gotta have its own committed stuff. Alright, now that's good. That's good and tight. And then if I had you right there and right there, it certainly greebles it up. I did definitely see here that we've got like a line, you know? If there's anything that can be read from there, it's a bit of a line. And for want of something better, these things do work pretty well for giving us nice, straight, good-looking lines. So off of this thing, there's a bit of a shadow line there, and then some weirdness that's going on back there. If anything, I would say that this, well, I see that little bowing bit. You know what I'm going to do? What are you going to do? I'm going to take this. I'm going to move you up there because I see like some hints of red in there. And this would at least get me a little bit of a hint of red. And then I still want you closer. So maybe you're more like that. Implying that there's a voot voot and then there's this. You should be lower in line that way, but if you are, then the image gets a little bit distorted when we start to turn away from it. Okay, well then just move this down a bit. Down a bit, up some more, down a bit, so it's not so committed to... Whoa, what just happened? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, no, I'm liking that. A little bit of vertical texture here would go a long way. Fuel cell arrays. We've got regular sized fuel cells, though. Should be this. And a bit of vertical texture, he said. Maybe if it was in line. I also like that the color kind of carries over from that bit. That fills the space nicely. And is not ridiculously. I mean, there's just, it's not really defined back there. It's just texture. It's just pure texture. Yeah. What else is going down around here? You know, because this looks a little bit dry, a little bit needs something. A little bit empty. I see that there's kind of a star formation right there. What if it's octagonal? What if an embedded octagonal strut? Everybody hear the kittens ripping everything apart in the background? Good. Octagonal like that. And with some snapping, I guess. Like you. Grab this. Pull you up. Bed you more, so I'm just getting like a little lifted grating kind of a thing going on there. And maybe align you, yeah, with that nicely. Just fill that space. Oh, I love that. Oh, very rarely have I gotten to say, oh, I love that. Above you guys, there's like the line that goes over there. But it's like it's too empty and dead of space right there. They're too low. All four of them are a little bit too low. Yeah. Let's fix that. Oh, spooples. Spooples. They're all off and they're not. So straight up and down. Just gotta fix every single one of them so I can drag them straight up without losing our lines. No big deal. You're gonna have to go more to the left now. Shoot. Alright, so all that work, like preserving your lines? Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I know. I was there. I was at Woodstock. Yeah. It was... And then the Hells Angels. I saw that in LA, what they did to that guy. Oh my god, did you see? Oh, I was there. I was there. Uh-huh. Spacing on these boobies. I just need a little bit more room on the ends so I can bring kind of all you guys left a little bit more. Including you, and then I think down a touch for you. No, on the down a touch, up a touch. I mean, you get them all in a row, or, you know, let's just look at them as a line. I really liked the orientation of those before, though. It's still right. It ain't wrong. It just don't look as good as the thing. And then underneath these was, there's a little bit of a pipe running under just the three. Just the first three and then not the fourth. So, what? I didn't say nothing. Did I say something? Was it bad? Don't clip it. But a grip strip. Yeah, that's tucked underneath that pipe even. That gives, like, the perfect length. And then, of course, with the grip strips, we can't change the color, so never mind what I wasn't going to say anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it's more of a pipe, but the grip strip will do the job. And then what about in this space? Well, it's kind of just poorly represented because it's a lot tighter of an area. These things are closer to one another. Let's see if we reposition. If we shift these things this way and this way, and then pull. I've done it again. Control Z. You were at Woodstock with Hell's Angels, or was that a test to see if anyone was listening? Well, if it was, now I know who has to die. Who must be silenced. What else did you hear while I was rambling? There's a lot less... I mean, that's not bad. I'm still not committed to that part, really. Get that leads into that. This would be better if there was, like, a little something rectangular that's popping off of there. I don't want to reuse the grip strip, because that would be cheap. But we could use a different grip strip that looks almost exactly the same. And that would be expensive. That would be a high-class whore. It's kind of hooker you want to take home to mother. That's what that would be. And just be like, can you believe how, you know, and I got her for a good price. Like, relatively speaking, oh my god. What? Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's, ooh, that adds so much texture to that. Some of it is just kind of cheap. I don't like the position of this. I'd like it better if it were shifted up a bit. And I don't like that you're just not really the right thing to be there. But, I don't know, you look good once I do that. I pull it to one side. It's pretty okay. I will move you out a touch. But I'll leave you at the same vertical place that you were. You know, some of the spacing just has to be allowed to be bad. And we can change the color of the external there, so maybe I should switch them all to gray so that they blend a little more. Can't change the color of the lens, but we can change the color of the plastic. Yeah. So this area with the batteries, and then I did that. Like, it needs a longer line that comes further out to the left of it. I'm not sure about the batteries either. Maybe the batteries could be recessed a little bit more. Like, if you're in deeper. 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 Wow, actually, I like that. I was like, nah, I've gone too far at this point. But then I looked and I was like, and then everybody was like afraid for my health. They were like, what? Oh, you can't be there because the ship separates there. So you got to move over a little bit so that you can move over a little bit. Like, you got to be there on that line at the most for us to be able to dock successfully. And then you're not exactly embedded at the same depth. Let's see if I can't get you out now that I've got something to measure that by. But I want to be at a visual angle that I can grab the blue. Yeah, right there. Okay, so that makes me feel better about them. And then, like I say, I'm not a fan of this, especially using it so close by the other one that's right over there. Doesn't seem to go as long as it really should. Could double them up and bed them into one another, kind of a thing, to make it go as far as I have arbitrarily decided that it should. But if I get them in perfect line, then we'll certainly have texture tearing issues. Certainly and surely. We don't. And that looks better. I could make it a little shorter, I think. But that looks better. Now there is, again, like there's this, and then there's that. There's a discoloration there that looks almost like a tear or something like that. What's my other? Yeah. Right there. It's like some round plate kind of thing, which we don't have to represent exactly, but something. Something. Something circular and ribbed would be great. For anyone's pleasure at this point. I don't care who. I don't know if we're gonna find anything ribbed. Ribbed and radial. And ready to go. Ribbed and radial and ready to... So we got a star shot right there. Change the color of not anything. Nope. Okay. Because my thought was... What was your thought? Was to put it on its side. But no. And no. I wouldn't want to do a probe. Mark II drone core. Too big. Fuel tanks. Hey. Ribbed and radial. It's not really the kind of radial ribbing I'm looking for. What about this xenon container? How big are you? You're big. Oh, you're big. We don't need that space. We're filling some of it with something else, but... That's precisely what I was on about, was something along those lines. Were you able to attach there, or do you demand? You do demand. Okay, he demands. Alright, you're straight up and down there. At the right angle? If there's going to be a right angle, it would be that one. We want that in line basically with the U. And then you got, And so we're repping that. We're repping our city in a different way. What we happen to have lying around, and we don't need the xenon gas, so let's drain it. I don't know, it's a little bit, yeah, it's certainly making a show of itself. Being like that. Is there something else, though, Mr. Ronan Pawn, that would better wrap your city or whatever the hell it is you keep saying? That's a little bit long, but like just having that vertically, just having something like that vertically could do it. The straight up structural panel, the grid, or the grip pad. If you were... Nah. What if it were just an octagonal strut? To give us that extra. That. Structural form. It's doing something interesting. Oh, love that. I don't know that it's the right thing, but I love it. Yes. I'll go with it just because I think it's handsome, even though it doesn't really fit, or it's not the best representation. But I do find it handsome. And honestly, there is, well, you've got to start there. We already determined you got to start there. What I could do is maybe if I drag this further down, what's our vicinity here for a couple of different things? And then I'm looking at these two, and I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the debt. And there's a gap. No. You sit in the middle. Maybe you go a little bit further right, so that you can go a little bit further right, so that you can go a little bit further right. And then there's more of, oh no, but you're supposed to be over here. It's very difficult to see what is happening. You can see, or you can't because it's so difficult, but listen to the words I'm saying and believe me as I say them. Thanks for a good evening. Now I will go to bed. Have fun with the satellite. Thank you for coming out, Mosaic Task Force. And thank you for the gift subs. Not much more to be said except for that we're probably wrapping up too because we've been here for 4 hours and I didn't work on it at all until the last hour here, if that. Maybe it's only been 45 minutes. Maybe it's only been a half an hour that I've been working on it. So there's all of those things to be considered, but the greebling, pull it up there because we're looking at this space mostly. Yeah, in this shot I can see a lot more detail, a lot more things going on in comparison to the shot we were referencing before. I'm just going back and forth. I'm like, I'm going along here, and I'm looking at these. I'm seeing these. The two dots there, that are the two dots there, and then this standing in for, that's standing in for that, I guess. And then we get over to here, and these guys. Are there, in terms of batteries, We got something else that's not quite those that could give us some of the yellow that I see in there. And if I embed them similarly as the ones above, so that we just kind of see the wires and the deal. Your orientation's not wrong. Like, really, this shouldn't be there. And it should be this, and maybe it's two of them. So I would do one of them upside down, and then they'll merge together nicely, maybe. So, bring you up. And then I bring you up. We just kiss butts there a little bit. And that's that. Strip of yellow next to that stuff, and then whoop, strip of yellow next to that stuff and that, and then the strip of yellow has like a little boxy plate thing between it and this with that above it. This also feels like that little cylinder could be represented certainly by something better in the game, like the Oscar B's, 3 of those linked together would be more along the lines of it. Or maybe even this xenon container. 2 of them. Merged together. Yeah, get the fuck out of there. Maybe. Maybe. So you... because it's less weighty than that. And that gives us some good weight. And then we've got better spacing here, so I don't have to push this up so much. And it seems like there's another little strip of line under there of some kind. I don't know how we'd get that if we were dedicated to the premise. You're up to there, that's to that, and there's this little gap where there's some kind of plate work right there going on, simple plate work. What do we got structurally for plate work? Woof! Woof indeed. Yeah, that could work. Right there. Actually, if I really drive it in. It's just like some... ooh. Could be a little bit bigger. Could be a little bit higher. I feel like it's more in line with that. I bring that over here. That's better so far, and then you got you, and then you got a little piping, and then the tube, and then that's just floating out there right now, and it is there. I'm gonna move it a little bit to the left, and then I'm gonna do something that's gonna blow everybody's mind. There, you consider your mind blown. You're welcome. Yeah. Just trying to figure out some, like, general weighting elements now. Like, how does the weight feel? I would like to drag these left for the weight. And then by doing so, that would mean that this would have to shift left a bit so that this could be more in line with that, although it doesn't have to be perfectly in line with it. And then you as well would come along, because I do like the way that that lines up. Move you back further over there, and then I could do what we did earlier with some of these and embed them so that we lose some of the extra. And if I did, then I'd want to pull it up. So it feels a little bit more parallel to that. Yeah, you know, remember when I said I liked that a lot? I still like that a lot, but it's not the right thing. And if we're representing this piece with, then it should be this. Just listen to, don't, I don't need to finish my sentence. Yeah, that feels a little bit better, and I think it's resolved some of the weighting issues for me. The thing is, as like much of an homage as it is to like have done all of this, I don't feel like it comes together and cumulatively like makes the design individually better. Like if you paid attention to every little piece and you look at it, then you're like, oh my god, he did that, and then he did the other thing. But it doesn't give you the same like greebled smell. And I'm very much aware of that as I'm doing this. That it just ends up looking like you just threw a bunch of random Kerbal shit on the side of it. Why'd you do that? But I mean, the answer is because that's what we were doing, and now and I'm doing it. Can I? Because this was an issue, and why didn't I just do this? Would be the question. Why the whole time didn't you just move that down, and then you would have had room to space these out a little bit more. Pull this as far as you can possibly go before you could be a problem for docking. Okay, come on. There you go, pull out. Just getting it so that we've got a view of everything. And boom. So yeah. Like, can I open image in a new tab? There we go. Huh? Wouldn't that have been nice a while ago for him to do that? I could, at this point, say that the bottom one is fully greebled. And there's certainly more detail to be added, but I think I'll call that and say, that's done. That bottom bit. And then the top bit, you know, and then the middle bit, and then the balls. You see how long this could take? I'm just, at some point I'm going to say, like, I want to get the sides of this done, and then out here, I don't fucking know, man, you know? What's our part count at the end of that? 1,212. 1, 2, 1, 2. But that's pretty damn nice. Yeah. And then this, you know, that's laddery kind of stuff that we could just rep with. So like one big ladder or something, and then and the longer that we go on, the more we've got parts that we already know that we like the look of, and that fit certain spaces and things. We can get there. We can get there. I'm going to focus entirely on we did this section. Hooray. And then we're going to do this section until that's done. And then it'll be hooray. And then we're going to greeble the fuck out of that, apparently. And then it'll be hooray. And then the balls maybe never get any greebling. Because they're pretty fucking awesome in and of themselves. The geodesicness. And to greeble every side of them in the intense ways that are here. I don't know, man. I'm going to do that, and then we'll see where we are. And maybe next live stream, I will not waste the first 3 hours. I don't consider it a waste. I had a good time. I had a much more enjoyable time shouting random things at you. Talking about all these different issues. Venting a little bit about recent stuff that was going on. About the power outage, and all sharing all the cool stuff that I got to try. Set up my power wall. One big lead acid battery and a 700 watt inverter, but I got to use it and it did come in handy and it did help us out, and I think probably there's nothing in the fridge that went off because we had it and were able to run the fridge a couple of times. Yeah. I had the most fun just talking with you guys, though. That's usually the way. And you know why? For I am the Ronin Bald. Thanks for coming out and watching. Thanks, troopers, those of you who stuck around through the actual greebling that we did there at the end. And then you get to the end of it, and it's like it doesn't seem like there's much has been done. Thunderbirds, they cared about every little aspect of every little detail, about every little thing. And then when it was all done, it came together, you look at it, and you just, you appreciate it. These are people who were doing what they wanted to do and taking it to the nines, taking it as seriously as they could have done anything. They could have been curing cancer, or they could have been making marionettes, save planes that somehow could fly for 6 hours but only have 2 hours worth of radioactive shielding. They took it seriously is the important part. So whatever it is that you do, it is that you choose to spend your time doing, take it seriously. By which I mean enjoy it. And that's really all. But if you don't take it, how are you going to... Alright, pawn out. That's the wrong button. It's a bad outro. We'll do it again. Thanks for coming out, everybody. And the next... No, you're still not... Wait, no, but hey, I'm not...